The first bullet missed her by inches. Alara Quinn felt the heat of it streak past her cheek before the crack of the rifle even registered. She stumbled, boot catching on a gnarled root, and went down hard on her hands and knees. Pine needles bit into her palms. The taste of copper flooded her mouth. She'd bitten her tongue when she fell. Get up. Get up. Get up. Her lungs screamed for air she couldn't give them. 3 days. 3 days since the stagecoach. 3 days since she'd watched them die. The second shot punched into the tree beside her head, spraying bark and splinters across her vision. Alara lurched forward, half running, half falling down the slope. Her legs were numb. Not from cold. It was late August, the Montana sun still brutal even as it sank toward the mountains, but from exhaustion so complete it had stopped feeling like anything at all. Behind her, voices. Men's voices, rough and confident. She went down the ridge. Christ, how's she still moving? Don't matter. She ain't got nowhere left to go. Alara's vision blurred. Sweat or tears, she couldn't tell anymore. The forest was a smear of green and brown, the ground tilting sickeningly beneath her feet. Her dress, once a respectable traveling outfit in dark blue wool, was shredded, filthy, crusted with blood that was mostly hers, but not entirely. The strongbox. They'd wanted the strongbox. She'd been dozing when the shooting started. The stage had been making good time on the northern route, the driver cheerful, the other passengers quiet. An older gentleman reading a newspaper. A young couple holding hands. A woman with a sleeping baby. Alara had been thinking about San Francisco, about the job waiting for her there, the fresh start, the chance to be someone other than the orphaned daughter of a failed Montana prospector. Then the world exploded. Masked riders. 6 of them, maybe more. Guns firing before the stage even stopped. The driver went down first, tumbling from his seat in a spray of red. The horses screamed and bolted. Inside the coach, chaos, the old man lunging for the door, the young husband shielding his wife, the mother clutching her baby and sobbing. Alara had thrown herself to the floor as bullets punched through the thin walls. Wood splinters, glass shattering, someone's blood, hot and wet, splashing across her face. The stage had crashed, rolled, splintered apart like kindling. When Alara came to, she was half buried under the wreckage, bodies piled around her. The couple, still holding hands. The old man with half his face gone. The mother with her baby, both of them perfectly still. She'd crawled out slowly, every movement agony, certain the men would see her. But they were focused on the strongbox, arguing over how to break it open. Their leader, a tall man whose voice cut through the others like a blade, kept his mask on even as the others pulled theirs down. Graves said not to leave witnesses, one of them muttered. The leader, Graves himself, Alara realized, turned slowly toward the wreckage. Then we don't. They'd started checking the bodies, making sure. Alara had run. Now, 3 days later, she was still running, still alive through sheer stubborn refusal to die, through luck that couldn't possibly hold much longer. The slope steepened. She slid more than climbed down, grabbing at branches that tore her palms, rocks that came loose under her weight. Her left leg was on fire. The bullet had gone in just above her knee sometime on the second day. She'd been crossing a creek, thought she was hidden by the brush. She'd been wrong. The wound had stopped bleeding heavily, but infection was setting in. She could feel it, a deep wrongness spreading through her thigh. Fever had started this morning, chills racking her body even as the sun climbed. She wasn't going to make it. The thought came clearly, without drama. Simple fact. She'd fought hard, but there was no fight left in her. The ground leveled out. Alara's legs gave way and she collapsed against a massive pine, bark rough against her back. Her chest heaved. Black spots danced across her vision. Above her, closer now. Blood trails fresh. She's right down there. Persistent little thing, I'll give her that. Won't be for much longer. Alara's hand found the small derringer in her dress pocket, the one thing of value she'd managed to keep from the wreck. 2 shots. She pulled it out with shaking fingers. The metal was warm from being pressed against her body for 3 days. 2 shots. 4 men, at least. She almost laughed. Almost. The fever was making everything strange. The light through the trees looked golden, beautiful. The pine needles beneath her smelled clean and sharp. If she was going to die, at least it would be here, under open sky, not trapped in that blood-soaked coach with the others. She thought of the baby. Couldn't have been more than 6 months old. Hadn't even cried when... Hoofbeats. Alara's head jerked up. The sound was coming from the west, from deeper in the forest. Not the men chasing her. This was different. A single horse, moving fast but controlled. The voices above her went quiet. "You hear that? Someone's coming. Could be a patrol. We're close to the federal land." A pause. Then Graves's voice, cold and final. "Find her. Kill her. We're done here." Alara tried to stand. Her leg buckled immediately, and she went down, catching herself on one hand. The derringer tumbled from her grip, landing in the pine needles. No, not now. She scrabbled for it, fingers clumsy, useless. Everything was spinning. The fever, the blood loss, the 3 days of running, it all caught up at once. The hoofbeats were closer. The men crashing through the brush above her were closer too. Alara's hand closed around the derringer. She dragged herself upright against the tree trunk, using it to stay standing. Her vision tunneled. The gun felt impossibly heavy. A man emerged from the trees. Not one of them. She knew that instantly. This man was older, maybe 40, with a weathered face and hard eyes that took in the scene in a single sweep. He wore a long coat despite the heat, and there was a badge pinned to his vest, tarnished silver, barely visible. A rifle rested easy in his hands, like it belonged there. His eyes found her, found the blood soaking her dress, found the gun shaking in her hand. "Easy," he said. His voice was low, rough from disuse. "I'm not with them." From above, "There, who the hell—" The lawman moved. It wasn't fast exactly. It was faster than fast, like he'd already known what was going to happen before it did. The rifle came up smooth as water and he fired twice. 2 distinct cracks that echoed through the trees. Someone screamed. A body crashed through the undergrowth, tumbling down the slope. Return fire erupted from above. The lawman stepped sideways, not diving, just stepping, and put himself between Alara and the shooters. He fired again. Once, twice, 3 times. Each shot deliberate, unhurried. The shooting stopped. Silence rushed back in, broken only by the sound of men running away. The lawman lowered his rifle, listening. After a long moment, he turned back to Alara. She was still holding the derringer on him. Her arm was shaking so badly the barrel traced random circles in the air. "You can put that down," he said. "Who are you?" "Name's Caleb Vance, federal marshal, though the federal part doesn't mean much out here." He took a slow step toward her. "You're hit. Leg?" "Don't." Alara's voice cracked. "Don't come closer." He stopped, studied her face. "How long you been running?" 3 days. Something shifted in his expression. Not quite surprise, maybe respect. "From how many?" 6, maybe 7. "You killed any of them?" "No." "Then there's probably still 6. He glanced up the slope where he'd fired. 5 now. Alara's arm was lowering whether she wanted it to or not. The derringer's barrel dipped toward the ground. "Why did you help me?" "Why wouldn't I?" "You don't know me, don't know what I've done." "I know what you haven't done." His eyes flicked to the gun. "You're holding a derringer with 2 shots. You could have fired when I came out of those trees. Most people would have. You didn't." "I couldn't move fast enough." "That's not why." He took another step. "The wound. Let me see it." I can't take the pain anymore." The words came out before she could stop them. Weak, pathetic. Caleb's expression didn't change. "That's why I'm here." Her knees buckled. He was there before she hit the ground, catching her with an arm around her shoulders. The rifle dangled from his other hand like an afterthought. Up close, he smelled like leather and wood smoke and something medicinal. "They'll come back," Alara whispered. "I know. They'll kill you too. They can try." He shifted his grip, getting ready to lift her. "My horse is 50 yards west, cabin's 2 miles from here. Can you hold on that long?" I don't even know you." "No," Caleb agreed. "You don't." He lifted her anyway. Alara wanted to protest, wanted to fight, but she had nothing left. Her head lolled against his shoulder. The world tilted and swayed. His horse was where he said it would be. a big roan gelding with intelligent eyes. Caleb set her in the saddle like she weighed nothing, then swung up behind her. His arm came around her waist, holding her steady. "Stay with me," he said. The horse moved out at a walk. The motion should have been soothing, but every step jarred her leg, sent fresh waves of agony through her body. Alara bit down on her lip hard enough to draw blood. The forest passed in a blur. She tried to stay alert, to watch for pursuit, but the fever was pulling her under. She kept seeing the stagecoach, kept hearing the baby's mother scream. "What's your name?" Caleb's voice cut through the fog. Alara Quinn." "Where were you headed?" "San Francisco." "Long way from San Francisco." "I know." A pause. "The men chasing you, you see their faces?" "One of them, the leader. They called him Graves." Caleb went very still behind her. "You sure?" "Yes." "Why?" He didn't answer for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice had changed, gone flat and cold. "Because Graves doesn't leave witnesses." "I noticed. You're the first person to get away from him in 3 years." "Lucky me." "Maybe." His arm tightened fractionally around her waist. "Or maybe you're just stubborn enough to make your own luck." The cabin materialized out of the trees, small, rough-built, set in a clearing that looked like it had been carved out by hand. A stream ran nearby, water clear over smooth stones. It should have been peaceful. Caleb dismounted and pulled her down carefully. Her leg refused to hold her weight. She sagged against him, and he half-carried her to the door. Inside was dim and cool. One room, spartanly furnished. A wood stove, a table, a single cot shoved against the far wall. Everything clean and organized with military precision. He lowered her onto the cot. The mattress was thin but clean. Alara's eyes were already closing. "Hey," Caleb's hand on her shoulder, firm. "Stay awake. I need to look at that leg." "Tired?" "I know. Stay awake anyway." He moved around the cabin with efficient purpose. Water from a bucket, clean cloth, a leather kit that opened to reveal surgical tools that looked too well maintained for a frontier cabin. When he came back to the cot, he had a knife. Alara's eyes went wide. "What? Bullet's still in there. Festering. Has to come out." He met her gaze. "This is going to be bad." "How bad?" "Worst thing you've ever felt." No hesitation, no false comfort, just truth. Alara laughed. It came out broken, edged with hysteria. "You know how to make a girl feel better." "I know how to keep you alive." He pulled the cot closer to the window where the light was better. "That what you want?" She looked at him. Really looked at him. The hard lines of his face, the scars she was only now noticing, one across his jaw, another disappearing into his hairline. The eyes that had seen things she couldn't imagine. "Why are you doing this?" "Already told you." "No. You told me your name. You didn't tell me why you give a damn if some stranger lives or dies." Caleb was quiet for a long moment. Outside, a bird called. The stream gurgled over stones. "I don't have a good answer for that," he said finally. "Maybe I just got tired of burying people." He set the knife down long enough to pull out a bottle from under the cot. Whiskey, mostly full. "This is for after. You're going to need it." "What about before?" "Before? You bite down on this." He handed her a leather strap. "And you don't let go." Alara took the strap with shaking hands. "Have you done this before?" "Yes." "How many times?" "Enough." "Did they live?" "Most of them." She put the leather strap between her teeth. It tasted of old sweat and metal. Her heart was hammering so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. Caleb positioned himself beside the cot, the knife in one hand. With the other, he started cutting away her dress around the wound. The fabric was stuck to her skin with dried blood. Each pull sent electricity up her leg. When he finally exposed the wound, his face went carefully blank. "How bad?" Alara's words were muffled by the strap. "Bad enough." He poured water over it. The pain made her vision white out for a second. Infection set in. "But I've seen worse." "That's supposed to be reassuring?" "Little bit." He picked up the knife again. "Ready?" She wasn't. Would never be. She nodded anyway. The first cut made her scream into the leather strap. She tasted blood, her own, from biting her tongue. Her hands fisted in the blanket beneath her, every muscle rigid. Caleb worked fast, but not reckless. The knife went in following the bullet's track, opening the wound wider. Alara's vision grayed at the edges. She tried to breathe through her nose, but the air wouldn't come. "Stay with me," Caleb said. His voice seemed to come from very far away. "Don't pass out yet." Yet. Like it was inevitable. She felt him shift position, felt the pressure change as he went deeper. Then, white-hot agony. Worse than being shot. Worse than anything. Alara bucked against the cot. Caleb's free hand pressed down on her shoulder, holding her still with surprising gentleness despite the strength behind it. "Almost," he said. "Almost got it." Alara couldn't scream anymore. The strap fell from her mouth. She was making sounds she'd never heard herself make before, animal sounds, desperate and raw. Then it stopped. The pressure released. Caleb held up the bullet, small, mushroomed, dark with blood. He set it aside and immediately pressed clean cloth against the wound. "Done," he said. "Worst part's done." Alara was shaking uncontrollably. Sweat soaked through what was left of her dress. The room spun. Caleb worked quickly now, cleaning the wound with something that burned almost as bad as the knife. She was too wrung out to scream this time, could only lie there and shake while he stitched her up with practiced hands. When he finally stepped back, she could barely focus on his face. "Drink this." He held the whiskey bottle to her lips. She drank, choked, drank more. The alcohol burned all the way down and then bloomed warm in her stomach. "Sleep now," Caleb said. "They'll come. Let them. You can't fight them all." "We'll see." He pulled a blanket over her. "You did good. Didn't do anything, just laid there. That's harder than you think." He moved away toward the window. "Sleep. I'll watch." Alara wanted to argue, wanted to stay alert, but the adrenaline was crashing and the whiskey was pulling her under, and she'd been running for 3 days with a bullet in her leg and no food, and she slept. The dreams were bad. The stagecoach, the blood, the baby's mother reaching for her child even as the light left her eyes, the old man's newspaper fluttering in the wind, pages soaked red. Graves's voice. "Then we don't." Gunfire. Running, pain that never ended. Alara jolted awake with a gasp. The cabin was dark. Not full dark, there was firelight from the stove, enough to see by. Outside the window, stars wheeled overhead. Late. Very late. Or very early. "Easy," Caleb's voice from somewhere to her left. "Just fever dreams." She turned her head. He was sitting in a chair by the door, rifle across his lap, watching the window, watching her. "How long?" Her voice came out as a croak. 6 hours. Sun'll be up in another 2. 6 hours. She'd been out for 6 hours and nothing had happened. No attack, no gunfire. "They didn't come." "No." "Why not?" Caleb was quiet for a moment. "Could be they're smart enough to wait for daylight. Could be they lost the trail. Could be I killed the one who was tracking you." "You think that's it?" "No." Alara pushed herself up on her elbows. The movement sent pain lancing through her leg, but it was different now. Sharper, cleaner. Not the deep poisonous ache of before. "Then what?" "Then I think they're regrouping. Getting more men. Graves doesn't like loose ends, and he doesn't like being made to look foolish." Caleb's eyes stayed on the window. "You embarrassed him. By not dying fast enough. By not dying at all." She lay back down. The cot creaked under her weight. "You really think he'll come here?" "Eventually." No hesitation. "So what do we do?" "We?" Caleb glanced at her, something that might have been amusement touching his face. "You're not doing anything. You're healing." "And you?" "I'm making sure you get the chance." Alara studied him in the firelight. The hard planes of his face, the way he held himself, coiled, ready, even sitting still. "Why?" "You asked me that already." "You didn't really answer." Caleb was quiet for a long time. Outside, a coyote yipped in the distance. The stream gurgled on. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, rougher, like the words cost him something. 8 years ago, I had a family, wife, daughter. He paused. There was a gang working the Northern Territories. Hit stages, supply wagons, anything they thought had value. Didn't matter who got hurt. Alara's chest tightened. She already knew where this was going. They hit a wagon train. My wife and daughter were on it, along with 30 other people. His hands tightened on the rifle. I was 3 days behind, tracking a different group. By the time I got there, he didn't finish, didn't need to. I'm sorry, Alara whispered. Don't be. Sorry doesn't change anything. He shifted in the chair. Spent the next 2 years hunting them, found most of them. The ones I didn't find, I heard about later. Someone else got them, or they killed each other over money, or they just got stupid and hung themselves. And that helped? No. Simple. Honest. But it was all I could do. Alara was quiet for a moment. The gang, was it Graves's crew? No. Different animals, same disease. He looked at her. But when you said his name, I recognized it. Been hearing about him for a year now. Methodical, smart, doesn't leave witnesses. And he's getting bolder. The strongbox. Do you know what was in it? Probably payroll for the mining operations up north. Government contract. Would have been $10,000, maybe $15,000. Alara's eyes widened. That much? That much. Enough to make men do terrible things. He stood, moving to the window. Enough to make them very motivated to tie up loose ends. Meaning me. Meaning you. She tried to sit up again. This time she made it, though her head swam. Then we should run. Get out of here before... Before what? Caleb turned to face her. You can barely stand. You're fevered, wounded, and weak. They'd track us down in half a day. Then what do you suggest? I suggest you rest. Get your strength back. And when Graves comes, if he comes, we'll be ready. We? She raised an eyebrow. Thought you said I wasn't doing anything. You're not. I am. 1 man against 6? 5. I got one already, remember? 5 then. That's still terrible odds. Something that might have been a smile touched Caleb's face. I've had worse. Alara wanted to argue, wanted to tell him this was insane, that he didn't owe her anything, that saving her life didn't mean throwing his own away. But the words stuck in her throat. Because the truth was, she had nowhere else to go. No one else to turn to. And Caleb Vance, this hard, scarred stranger who'd pulled her from the edge of death, was the only thing standing between her and a shallow grave in the Montana wilderness. Why? She asked again, quieter this time. Why risk it? Caleb looked at her for a long moment. In the firelight, his eyes were dark, unreadable. Because 8 years ago, nobody stood up for my family. Nobody even tried. He turned back to the window. Maybe I'm tired of that being how the story goes. Outside, the sky was starting to lighten. Dawn was coming, and with it, Alara knew, something else. She lay back down, pulling the blanket tight around her shoulders. Her leg throbbed. Her head ached. But she was alive. For now, that would have to be enough. The sun came up slow and red, like it was bleeding into the sky. Alara woke to the smell of coffee and something else, salt pork frying in a pan. Her stomach twisted with hunger so sharp it hurt. She couldn't remember the last time she'd eaten anything more than creek water and wild berries. Caleb was at the stove, his back to her. The rifle leaned against the wall within arm's reach. Even cooking breakfast, he kept himself positioned where he could see both the door and the window. You're awake, he said without turning around. How did you know? Your breathing changed. He poured coffee into a tin cup and brought it to her. Drink this first. Slow. The coffee was strong enough to strip paint, black and bitter. Alara sipped it and felt the heat spread through her chest. Thank you. Food's almost ready. You need to eat. I need to use the privy first. Caleb nodded toward a corner of the cabin. Chamber pot's there. I'll step outside. He took his rifle and went out, closing the door behind him. Alara pulled herself upright, gritting her teeth against the pain. Her leg was stiff, swollen around the stitches, but the fever had broken sometime during the night. She could feel the difference. Her head was clearer, the world less fuzzy at the edges. Using the chamber pot was an exercise in humiliation and agony, but she managed. When she called out, Caleb came back in carrying an armful of firewood. There's a creek 20 yards north, he said, stacking the wood by the stove. When you're strong enough to walk, you can wash up there. When will that be? Few days, maybe. Depends how fast you heal. He dished salt pork and beans onto 2 tin plates. You got lucky. Bullet missed the bone, didn't sever anything major. Give it time, you'll walk again. Will I run? He looked at her. Eventually. They ate in silence. The food was plain, but Ilara couldn't remember anything tasting better. She finished everything on her plate and would have licked it clean if she'd had any dignity left. She didn't, but old habits held. Caleb ate mechanically, like it was just fuel. His eyes kept drifting to the window. You expecting them today? Ilara asked. Don't know what to expect, that's the problem. You said Graves was methodical. He is, which means he's thinking this through, planning it out. Caleb set his empty plate aside. He knows I'm here, knows I'm armed. He'll want to stack the odds before he makes a move. How would he even find us? This place isn't exactly on a map. Tracks. My horse left prints, and you bled for 3 days. Trails easy enough to follow if you know what you're looking for. He stood, moving to the window again. They'll find us. Question is when. Ilara shifted on the cot, trying to find a position that didn't make her legs scream. You really think you can hold them off? 5 men? Maybe. That's not reassuring. Wasn't meant to be. He glanced at her. I'm not going to lie to you, Ilara. The odds aren't good, but they're better than they were 3 days ago when you were bleeding out under that tree. She couldn't argue with that. The morning dragged on. Caleb moved around the cabin with quiet efficiency, cleaning his rifle, checking ammunition, reinforcing the door with an extra crossbar. Everything he did was deliberate, practiced. This wasn't the first time he'd prepared for a fight. Ilara watched him work, her mind churning. You live here alone? Yes. How long? 3 years, give or take. That's a long time to be by yourself. Caleb didn't answer right away. He was oiling the rifle's action, his hands moving with unconscious skill. Suits me fine. Does it? He looked up, something sharp in his gaze. You got a point to make? Just wondering why a federal marshal is hiding in a cabin in the middle of nowhere instead of, marshaling. I'm not hiding. No? No? He set the rifle down harder than necessary. I'm stationed here. This is my territory. Your territory is 1 cabin and some trees? My territory is everything from the Bitterroot Range to the Canadian line, 100 miles in every direction. His jaw tightened. Someone's got to keep an eye on it. Alone? Alone works better. Don't have to worry about anyone else getting killed. The words came out flat, final. Ilara recognized the tone, the same one she'd heard in her own voice after her father died. The sound of someone who'd stopped expecting anything good. She changed the subject. Tell me about Graves. Caleb was quiet for a moment, then moved to a shelf and pulled down a worn leather journal. He flipped through pages covered in tight, precise handwriting until he found what he wanted. Thomas Graves, former cavalry officer, discharged after the war, started running with outlaws about 5 years ago. He read from the journal. Known associates include Frank Moody, Charlie Dern, and a half-breed tracker named Joseph Wolfe, suspected in at least a dozen robberies, maybe more. 4 confirmed murders. 4? Ilara's voice went tight. I watched him kill 7 people. 4 confirmed, Caleb repeated, meaning bodies we found with witnesses who could testify. Everything else is suspicion and rumor. He closed the journal. Graves is smart, doesn't leave evidence, doesn't leave witnesses. Except me. Except you. Ilara pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders. The cabin suddenly felt cold despite the fire. What happens if they come and you can't stop them? Then you're on your own. That's it? That's your plan? That's reality. Caleb's voice was hard. I'm not going to feed you false hope. If they overrun this cabin, I'll be dead and you'll be next. Best I can do is make it expensive for them. How expensive? Expensive enough that maybe 1 or 2 of them decide it's not worth it and ride off. He met her eyes. You want pretty lies? I'm the wrong man. You want the truth? There it is. Ilara wanted to be angry, wanted to rage at him for being so cold, so matter-of-fact about the possibility of their deaths. But she couldn't, because he was right. If I could walk, she said quietly, I'd run, save you the trouble. I know, but I can't. No. So we're both stuck here. Caleb almost smiled. Looks that way. The day wore on. Alara dozed fitfully, waking every hour or so to find Caleb in a different position, but always watching, always alert. The sun climbed high and hot. Outside, insects droned in the afternoon heat. Around mid-afternoon, Caleb suddenly went still. "What?" Alara whispered. He held up a hand for silence. Listened. After a long moment, he moved to the gun slot beside the door, a narrow opening carved through the logs. "Someone's coming." Alara's heart kicked into overdrive. "Them?" "Don't know yet. Stay quiet." He brought the rifle up, sighting through the slot. Alara watched him, her mouth dry. Seconds stretched into minutes. She could hear it now too, hoofbeats getting closer. Then a voice called out, "Vance! Caleb Vance!" Caleb's shoulders relaxed fractionally. "It's all right. I know him." He unbarred the door and stepped outside, rifle still in hand. Alara could hear voices, Caleb's low rumble, and another man's, higher pitched, slightly breathless. They came in together. The newcomer was younger than Caleb, maybe 30, with a deputy's star pinned to his vest and the kind of face that probably looked trustworthy to most people. His eyes went wide when he saw Alara on the cot. "This her, the survivor?" "This is Alara Quinn," Caleb said. "Alara, this is Deputy Marshal Tom Brennan, works out of Helena." Brennan pulled off his hat. "Ma'am, heard you had a rough time of it." "You could say that." Alara's voice came out sharper than she intended. Brennan glanced at Caleb. "Can we talk?" "Anything you need to say, you can say in front of her. It's her life we're discussing." The deputy shifted his weight. "All right, we found the stagecoach yesterday. What was left of it?" His face went grim. 7 dead like you said in your message. Driver, passengers, guards. Graves's work, no question. "The strongbox?" Caleb asked. "Gone. Tracks headed north, then split up. We followed the main group to an old line shack near Judith Gap, but they'd already cleared out. Found blood there, though. Fresh." "I winged one of them yesterday," Caleb said. "Maybe more than winged, if there was a lot of blood." "There was." Brennan looked at Alara. "Ma'am, I need to ask you some questions about what happened, what you saw." Alara's hands clenched in the blanket. "I already told Marshal Vance." "I know, but I need to hear it myself for the report." "The report," Alara laughed, bitter. 7 people are dead and you need a report." "Alara," Caleb's voice was quiet but firm. "He's doing his job." She wanted to scream at him, wanted to tell him that his job didn't mean anything to the mother and baby lying dead in the wreckage. But she was too tired to fight. "What do you want to know?" Brennan pulled out a small notebook. "Start from the beginning. Where were you coming from?" She told him. "Helena." She'd been visiting a friend, heading back to her father's claim near Bannock. The stage was supposed to be safe, routine. They'd made this run 100 times. The attack came out of nowhere, riders in masks, guns firing, no warning, no chance to surrender. They just killed everyone. "How many attackers?" Brennan asked. 6, maybe 7, hard to tell with all the smoke and chaos. "Did you see their faces?" "One of them, the leader, they called him Graves." Brennan's pencil stopped moving. "You're certain?" "Yes." "Would you recognize him again?" Alara closed her eyes, seeing it clearly. The mask pulled down, revealing a face that was almost handsome. Sharp features, dark beard, eyes that were completely dead. "Yes, I'd recognize him." "That's good. That's real good." Brennan scribbled faster. "We might be able to use that. Get a warrant. Organize a proper manhunt." "A manhunt?" Alara's voice rose. "They're hunting me right now. What good is a warrant?" "Ma'am, I understand you're scared." "You don't understand anything." She tried to sit up, pain shooting through her leg. "They'll kill me before any warrant means a damn thing." "Alara," Caleb said quietly, "lie back down." "No, no, I'm done lying down." She glared at Brennan. "You want to help? Then get more men up here. Set a trap. Do something other than write in your little book." Brennan's face flushed. "I'm trying to help, but we have to do this by the law." "The law?" Alara laughed again, on the edge of hysteria. "The law didn't save anyone on that stagecoach." "That's enough," Caleb said. Not loud, but with enough steel that both of them stopped talking. He looked at Brennan. "What are you really here for, Tom?" The deputy shifted uncomfortably. There's talk in Helena. Some of the mining companies are pressuring the territorial governor. They want this resolved quickly. Meaning what? Meaning they want Graves caught or killed before it affects their payroll shipments. Brennan wouldn't meet his eyes. They're offering a reward, $500. Blood money, Alara spat. It's not like that. It's exactly like that. They don't care about the people who died. They care about their money. Brennan's jaw tightened. Maybe so, but that reward might bring in bounty hunters, men who know how to track Graves, men who can help, or men who'll get more people killed, Caleb said. Bounty hunters are as likely to shoot each other over that money as they are to find Graves. So what do you suggest? Caleb was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, harder, colder. I suggest you go back to Helena and tell the governor that Graves is my problem now. Tell him I'll handle it. Caleb, you can't. I can and I will. He picked up his rifle. Now get out of here before you lead them straight to us. Brennan stared at him. You're making a mistake. Won't be my first. The deputy looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Caleb's face stopped him. He put his hat back on and headed for the door. Halfway there, he paused. Ma'am, if you want to come with me, I can get you to safety. A doctor in Helena, proper care. She stays here, Caleb said. That should be her choice. Caleb glanced at Alara. It is. Alara? She looked between them. Brennan offering safety and civilization and everything that made sense. Caleb offering nothing but a cabin in the wilderness and a fight she might not survive. I stay, she said. Brennan shook his head. You're both fools. Probably, Caleb agreed. Close the door on your way out. When the deputy was gone, the cabin felt very quiet. Alara lay back down, suddenly exhausted. Why didn't you let me go? I did let you. You chose to stay. Why did you want me to stay? Caleb didn't answer right away. He was checking his ammunition again, counting rounds with mechanical precision. Because Helena's 3 days' ride from here. You'd be exposed, vulnerable. They could hit you anywhere along the trail. And here? Here I can control the situation, choose the ground, make them come to us on my terms. He looked at her. Here I can keep you alive. For how long? Long enough. Long enough for what? For what comes next. Alara wanted to ask what that meant, but something in his expression stopped her. Instead, she asked, what did Brennan mean about Graves being your problem now? Caleb was quiet for a long time. Outside, the light was starting to fade. Evening coming on, the sky turning amber and gold. 8 years ago, after my family died, I made a promise, he said finally. Told myself I'd make the frontier safer, that I'd stop men like the ones who killed them, that I'd be the kind of lawman who didn't look the other way. And I've been chasing that promise ever since. Following leads, tracking killers, trying to make a difference. He set the ammunition aside. But the frontier doesn't get safer. For every bad man I put down, 2 more show up. It's like trying to bail out the ocean with a tin cup. So why keep doing it? Because what else is there? He looked at her, and for the first time she saw something other than hardness in his face. Something tired and sad. I can't bring my family back, can't change what happened, but I can stand between people like you and people like Graves. Maybe that's enough. Is it? I don't know. He turned back to the window. But it's all I've got. The night came on fast after that. Caleb lit a single lantern, keeping the light low. They ate a cold supper, beans and hardtack washed down with creek water. Alara's leg was aching again, a deep throb that made her teeth clench. You need to sleep, Caleb said. Can't. Hurts too much. He hesitated, then went to his pack and pulled out a small brown bottle. Laudanum. Take a few drops. It'll help. Will it knock me out? Probably. What if they come while I'm unconscious? Then you won't feel it when you die. He saw her face and softened slightly. That was a joke. Bad one, but still. Alara took the bottle. The laudanum was bitter, but within minutes the pain started to recede, replaced by a warm fog. Her eyelids grew heavy. Caleb? Yeah? In the morning, teach me to shoot. He looked at her, surprised. You don't know how. Not really. My father had an old rifle, but he never let me touch it. said guns were men's business. She could hear her own voice slurring. Stupid thing to say considering where I ended up. All right, Caleb said. In the morning, I'll teach you. Promise? Promise. She wanted to say more, but the laudanum was pulling her under. The last thing she saw before darkness took her was Caleb silhouetted against the window, rifle in hand, standing watch. Morning came with birdsong and pale light. Alara woke feeling clearer than she had in days. The pain in her leg had dulled to a manageable ache. She could think straight for the first time since the attack. Caleb was making coffee again. He looked like he hadn't slept. You were supposed to rest, Alara said. I rested enough. Liar. He almost smiled. You want to learn to shoot or you want to lecture me about sleep? Both. Well, you're only getting one. After breakfast, he helped her outside. The morning air was cool and clean, smelling of pine and earth. Alara's leg buckled when she tried to put weight on it and Caleb caught her, his grip firm. Easy, don't push it. Thought you were going to teach me to shoot. I am, but you can't stand on your own yet, so we're going to do it sitting. He settled her on a stump near the cabin, her injured leg stretched out in front of her. Then he handed her the derringer she'd been carrying. This is a piece of junk, he said bluntly. 2 shots, terrible accuracy beyond 10 feet, but it's what you've got, so you need to know how to use it. He showed her how to check if it was loaded, how to cock the hammer, how to aim. His hands were patient, adjusting her grip, showing her where to put her thumb. Don't close your eyes when you pull the trigger. Most people do. You close your eyes, you're shooting blind. Alara practiced dry firing at a tree 20 feet away. The gun felt heavy and awkward in her hand. Now here's the important part, Caleb said. You've got 2 shots, that's it. So you don't shoot unless you're sure. And when you do shoot, you aim for the biggest target, the chest, not the head, not the legs, center mass. Understood? Understood. Show me. She sighted on the tree, breathed out, pulled the trigger. The hammer clicked on an empty chamber. Again. Click. Again. They practiced for an hour. By the end, Alara's hand was steady, her movements automatic. Caleb loaded the derringer with real bullets and had her fire both shots at the tree. The recoil surprised her, sharper than she expected, but both bullets hit bark. Not bad, Caleb said. You'll get better with practice. What if 2 shots isn't enough? He pulled his own pistol, a Colt Army revolver that looked ancient but well-maintained. Then you use this. It's loaded, 6 rounds. Same principle applies. Aim center mass, don't shoot unless you're sure. Don't close your eyes. You're giving me your gun? I'm giving you options. He holstered the Colt and handed it to her. If it comes down to it, if they get past me and you're the last thing standing, you fight. You understand? You don't give up. You don't surrender. You fight until you can't anymore. Alara took the gun belt, feeling the weight of it. You really think it'll come to that? I hope not, but hope's not a strategy. They went back inside. Alara was exhausted from the short session, her legs screaming. Caleb helped her to the cot, and she collapsed onto it, breathing hard. You did good, he said. Didn't do anything but sit there and shoot at a tree. That's more than most people do before their first fight. He moved to the window. Rest now. We'll practice again this afternoon. But they didn't get the chance. Around noon, Caleb went still in that way he had. Complete, absolute stillness. Alara knew before he spoke. They're here. Her breath caught. How many? Can't tell yet. But there's dust on the north trail. Riders, moving fast. Could be someone else. Could be. He checked his rifle. But it's not. Alara pushed herself upright, ignoring the pain. What do we do? We see what they want. He glanced at her. You remember what I taught you? She nodded, hand going to the derringer in her pocket. Good. Stay down. Stay quiet. Don't shoot unless I tell you to. The riders came into view 5 minutes later. 3 of them, moving cautiously. They stopped at the edge of the clearing, staying in the tree line. Smart, not exposing themselves. One of them called out, You in the cabin! We know you're in there! Caleb didn't respond. We're not looking for trouble. Just want to talk. Liars, Alara whispered. Probably, Caleb agreed. But he called back, Talk then. A pause, then, You got something that belongs to us. Woman who was on that stage. Send her out, and we ride away peaceful. No deal. You're making this harder than it needs to be, friend. We don't have any quarrel with you. I'm not your friend. Caleb's voice was hard. And you're not getting her. Another pause, longer this time. The riders were conferring, too far away for Alara to hear what they were saying. Then one of them raised a rifle. Down! Caleb shouted. Alara threw herself flat as the window exploded inward, glass spraying across the cabin. Gunfire erupted, 3 rifles firing in ragged sequence. Bullets punched through the log walls, thudding into furniture, kicking up splinters. Caleb returned fire through the gun slot, 3 quick shots. One of the riders went down, his horse bolting. The other 2 scattered, taking cover in the trees. Then silence. Ringing, awful silence. Alara's ears were screaming. She could smell gun smoke, sharp and acrid. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the derringer. You hit? Caleb asked, not taking his eyes off the window. No. You? No. More silence. The wounded rider was crawling toward the trees, leaving a blood trail. His companions were hidden somewhere in the forest. They're flanking, Caleb said quietly, trying to get around behind us. How do you know? Because it's what I'd do. He moved to the back wall where another gun slot gave a view of the rear approach. This is going to get worse before it gets better. How much worse? These are just the scouts. Graves will be coming with the rest. Alara's stomach dropped. What? Think about it. 3 men attacking in broad daylight? They're not trying to kill us. They're testing our defenses, seeing what we've got. He checked his ammunition. The real attack comes tonight. How many? However many Graves has left. Could be 5, could be 10. He looked at her. I need you to listen very carefully. When they come, they'll try to burn us out or rush the cabin. Either way, it's going to be chaos. You stay in that corner. He pointed to the spot farthest from the windows. And you don't move unless I tell you to. Understood? What if they kill you? Then you use that derringer and the Colt, and you take as many of them with you as you can. His voice was calm, matter of fact. But it won't come to that. How can you be sure? Because I'm not done yet. The afternoon crawled by. The wounded rider's companions eventually dragged him away, back into the forest. Silence settled over the clearing like a shroud. Caleb worked methodically, preparing. He moved furniture to create better cover, filled buckets with water from the creek in case of fire, checked every weapon 3 times. You should rest while you can, he told Alara. Can't. Too wired. Then eat something. Going to be a long night. She tried, managed a few bites of hardtack that tasted like sawdust. Her stomach was twisted in knots. Caleb? Yeah? If we don't make it, we'll make it. But if we don't, Alara. He stopped what he was doing and looked at her. We're going to make it. You survived 3 days with a bullet in your leg and half of Graves's gang hunting you. You think I'm going to let you die now? It's not about what you let happen. Sometimes things just, no. Hard. Final. Not this time. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust in that absolute certainty. But she'd seen too much death in the past week to believe in anything. The sun set. Darkness came creeping through the trees. Caleb extinguished the lantern, plunging the cabin into blackness. Now we wait, he whispered. Alara crouched in her corner, the derringer in one hand and Caleb's Colt in the other. Her leg was throbbing, but she ignored it, focused on breathing, on listening. The night was full of sounds, wind in the trees, the creek gurgling, an owl somewhere distant. And then, underneath it all, something else. Movement. Careful, quiet, but there. Caleb heard it too. She saw him tense, bringing the rifle up. A voice called out from the darkness, different from before, deeper, more commanding. Marshal Vance, I believe we haven't been properly introduced. Name's Thomas Graves. Caleb didn't respond. I know you're in there, and I know you've got something of mine. Now, I'm a reasonable man. I don't want any more blood spilled tonight, so here's what's going to happen. You send the woman out and my men and I ride away. You have my word as an officer and a gentleman. Your word doesn't mean shit, Graves, Caleb called back, and she's not coming out. A laugh, cold and amused. Then I'm afraid we have a problem. See, that woman is the only witness to a crime. And I can't have witnesses. Surely you understand. I understand you're a murdering bastard who kills innocent people. Innocent. The amusement in Graves' voice died. Those people were carrying money that didn't belong to them. Government money, stolen from hardworking men and given to corrupt mining companies. I was simply redistributing it. You killed a baby. Silence, long and heavy. When Graves spoke again, his voice had changed, gone cold as winter. Collateral damage. Unfortunate, but necessary. And now the woman needs to join them. That's just how this works. Come and get her then. Oh, I intend to. But I thought I'd give you one more chance. You're a good man, Marshal. I've heard stories about you. Man who lost his family, still fighting the good fight. That's admirable. Stupid, but admirable. A pause. So walk away. Leave the woman and go. Live to fight another day. Not happening. Then you'll die for nothing. Maybe. Or maybe I'll take you with me. Another laugh. You're welcome to try. Then the night exploded. Muzzle flashes lit up the darkness like lightning. Bullets hammered into the cabin from 3 sides. No, 4. They were surrounded. Caleb fired back, methodical and precise. Each shot aimed, deliberate. Alara heard someone scream in the darkness. "Stay down!" Caleb shouted over the gunfire. Glass shattered. The door shook as bullets struck it. One round punched through the wall 6 inches from Alara's head, and she yelped, pressing herself flatter. The shooting went on forever. Seconds that felt like hours. The air filled with smoke and the stink of gunpowder. Alara couldn't see anything, could barely breathe. Then, as suddenly as it started, it stopped. Caleb was reloading, hands moving fast in the darkness. "They're regrouping. We've got maybe 2 minutes. Did you hit any of them?" "At least 1. Maybe 2. "How many left?" "Too many." Something hit the roof. A dull thud that didn't sound like a bullet. Caleb looked up. "No, no, no!" The smell hit her then, sharp, chemical, kerosene. "They're going to burn us out," Caleb said. His voice was tight, controlled. "Get ready to move." "Where?" "Out. We can't stay here." Another thud. More kerosene. Then the sound of a match striking. The roof caught with a whoosh that sucked the air from the cabin. Flames spread fast. Too fast. Heat poured down from above. "Now!" Caleb grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the door. "We go out shooting. You stay behind me and you run for the trees. Don't stop. Don't look back." "I can't run." "Then you crawl. Just move." He kicked the door open and went out first, rifle firing. Alara stumbled after him, the Colt heavy in her hand. Smoke and darkness and muzzle flashes, someone shouting, a horse screaming. Her leg buckled and she went down hard. Strong hands grabbed her, not Caleb's, rougher, meaner. "Got her!" Alara twisted, brought the Colt up, fired point blank into the man's chest. He dropped like a stone. "Alara," Caleb's voice somewhere to her left. She tried to stand, fell again. Pain was eating her leg alive. The cabin was fully engulfed now, flames reaching toward the sky. A figure emerged from the smoke, tall, calm, moving with absolute confidence. Graves. He looked exactly like she remembered. Sharp features, dark beard, dead eyes that reflected the firelight. "There you are," he said. Alara raised the Colt. Her hand was shaking. He was 15 feet away. Center mass. Don't close your eyes. She pulled the trigger. Click. Empty. Graves smiled. "Bad luck." He raised his own gun. Then Caleb crashed into him from the side, tackling him to the ground. They rolled, fighting for control. Graves's gun went off, the bullet going wild. Alara crawled away, desperate to put distance between herself and the fight. Her hands found the Derringer. 2 shots. She still had 2 shots. More men were coming out of the trees, 3 of them, converging on Caleb and Graves. Alara raised the Derringer, 20 feet, too far. But what choice did she have? She aimed at the nearest man and fired. The kick nearly broke her wrist, but the man went down, clutching his shoulder. The other 2 turned toward her, 1 shot left. The cabin collapsed behind her with a roar of timber and sparks. The heat washed over her like a physical blow. Caleb had gotten on top of Graves now, fists hammering down. But the other men were closing in, raising their weapons. Alara couldn't stop them all, couldn't save him, but she could try. She raised the Derringer, sighted on the nearest man, and pulled the trigger. The hammer fell on an empty chamber. She'd miscounted. Both shots were gone. The man smiled and aimed his rifle at her head. Then a shot rang out from the trees, different from the others. Sharper. The man dropped. More shots. Someone else was shooting, hitting Graves's men from behind. They scattered, returning fire into the forest. In the chaos, Caleb landed a vicious punch that snapped Graves's head back. He rolled away, grabbed his rifle, came up shooting. 2 of Graves's men went down. The others broke and ran, disappearing into the darkness. Graves staggered to his feet, blood streaming from his nose and mouth. He looked at Caleb, at Alara, at the burning cabin. "This isn't over," he said. Then he turned and ran. Caleb raised his rifle but didn't fire, just watched him go. A rider emerged from the trees, Deputy Brennan, with 3 other men Alara didn't recognize, all armed, all looking grim. "We heard the shooting from 2 miles out," Brennan said, dismounting. "Thought we'd lend a hand." Caleb lowered his rifle. "Took your time." "Better late than dead." Brennan looked at the burning cabin. "You all right?" "We're alive." Caleb moved to Alara, kneeling beside her. "You hit?" She shook her head, couldn't speak. The adrenaline was crashing and her whole body was shaking. "She needs a doctor," Brennan said. "She needs safety first." Caleb looked at him. "They'll regroup. Come back. Graves doesn't give up." "Then we don't give him the chance." Brennan's face was hard. "We're done playing defense. Time to hunt." Alara found her voice. "I killed someone." Both men looked at her. "Back there. In the fight. I shot him." Caleb's expression softened. "I know. You did what you had to. He's dead because of me." "He's dead because he tried to kill you first." Caleb gripped her shoulder. "You hear me? You did nothing wrong." She wanted to believe him, but all she could see was the man falling, the surprise on his face, the blood spreading across his chest. "Come on," Brennan said. "We need to move before they regroup. There's a way station 10 miles south. We can hole up there, plan our next move." Caleb nodded. He picked Alara up like she weighed nothing, carrying her to Brennan's horse. The deputy helped get her settled in the saddle. As they rode away, Alara looked back at the cabin. It was nothing but flames now, burning bright against the darkness. Everything Caleb owned going up in smoke because of her. "Don't," he said quietly, as if reading her thoughts. "Don't do that. It's my fault. It's Graves's fault, remember that." But as they rode through the night, Alara couldn't shake the weight settling over her. 7 people dead on the stagecoach, Caleb's home destroyed, men killed tonight in the fight, all because she'd survived when she shouldn't have, all because she'd refused to die quietly. The way station was a squat structure of weathered timber and crumbling mortar that looked like it had been abandoned for years. Maybe it had been. The door hung crooked on its hinges and half the roof was missing, open to the sky. But the walls were solid enough, and there was a well out back that still held water. Brennan's men got a fire going in the stone hearth, while Caleb carried Alara inside and set her down on a pile of old blankets someone had scrounged up. She was shivering despite the warmth, teeth chattering so hard she bit her tongue. "Shock," one of Brennan's men said. He was older, maybe 50, with a scar that ran from his ear to his chin. "Seen it plenty during the war. She'll come out of it." "When?" Caleb asked. "When she's ready." The man handed him a flask. "Get some of this in her. Whiskey helps." Caleb held the flask to Alara's lips. She drank without tasting it, the burn barely registering. Everything felt distant, like she was watching herself from somewhere far away. The man she'd shot kept appearing in her vision, falling, the surprise on his face. The blood. "Alara." Caleb's hand on her shoulder, grounding her. "Look at me." She tried. Her eyes wouldn't focus. "Listen to my voice. You're safe. You're alive. That's what matters." "I killed him." "Yes. I've never killed anyone before." "I know." "Does it get easier?" Caleb was quiet for a long moment. "No, it doesn't." Something about the honesty in that answer cut through the fog. Alara looked at him, really looked at him. His face was streaked with soot and blood. Not his own, she thought. His coat was torn. He looked exhausted. "Your cabin," she said. "Gone." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It was just a place." He pulled the blankets tighter around her. You need rest. Can't sleep. Try anyway. But she couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, she was back in the clearing with bullets screaming past and the cabin burning and that man falling and, "Tell me something," she said suddenly. Caleb looked at her. "Like what?" "Anything. Something that's not this." He thought for a moment. "My daughter's name was Sarah. She was 6 when she died." Alara's breath caught. "You don't have to. You asked for something else. This is something else." He stared into the fire. "She loved horses. Used to beg me to take her riding every morning. Drove her mother crazy because she'd rather be in the stables than learning her letters." "What did she look like?" "Like her mother, dark hair, green eyes, smile that could make you forget whatever you were angry about." A pause. "She had this laugh, this ridiculous snorting laugh that she hated but couldn't help. Used to make her so mad when I'd get her going." Alara heard the pain underneath his words, sharp and fresh despite 8 years. "What was your wife's name?" "Catherine." "Kate, mostly." He pulled his coat tighter. "She was stronger than me. Smarter, too. I was just a deputy back then, barely making enough to keep food on the table. She never complained. Just made it work." "How did you meet?" "Church social in Denver. I was 22 and stupid. Saw her across the room and walked straight over without thinking. Asked her to dance even though I didn't know how." He almost smiled. "Stepped on her feet 5 times. She still said yes when I asked to see her again." "She sounds wonderful." "She was." He looked at Alara. "You remind me of her sometimes." "How?" "The stubbornness. The refusal to quit even when quitting makes sense." He stood, moving to the window. "Kate would have liked you." The words settled over Alara like a blanket. She didn't know what to say to that, so she said nothing. Across the room, Brennan was conferring with his men in low voices. Alara caught fragments of conversation. "Track them north. Reinforcements from Helena. 2 days, if we push hard." "What are they planning?" she asked. "A hunt." Caleb's voice was flat. "Brennan wants to go after Graves before he can regroup." "Is that smart?" "Smart doesn't matter anymore. This is personal now." He glanced at her. "For all of us." Brennan broke away from his men and came over. "We're heading out at first light, going to track Graves to wherever he's holed up and finish this." "You don't even know where he is," Caleb said. "We've got a tracker, best in the territory. He'll find them." Brennan looked at Alara. "You'll stay here with Murphy. He'll keep you safe while we're gone." Murphy, the scarred man, nodded. "Yes, ma'am. Nothing's getting past me." "No," Alara said. Everyone turned to look at her. "I'm going with you." Brennan shook his head. "Ma'am, with respect, you can barely walk. You'd slow us down and—" "I said I'm going." She tried to stand. Her leg buckled and she went down hard. Caleb caught her before she hit the floor. "You can't even stand," Brennan said. "How do you expect to—" "I'll manage." Alara's voice was steel. "Those men killed 7 people right in front of me. Hunted me for 3 days. Burned down his cabin. You think I'm going to sit here and wait while you decide my fate? This isn't about deciding your fate." "The hell it isn't." She looked at Caleb. "Tell him." Caleb's expression was unreadable. "She's right." "Vance, be reasonable. I'm being practical. Graves won't stop coming for her. You know that. I know that. And she knows that." He helped Alara back down to the blankets. "If she's with us, we can protect her. If she's here, she's a sitting target. She's injured." "I've been injured before," Alara said. "Didn't stop me from surviving 3 days in the wilderness." Brennan ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "This is insane." "Probably," Caleb agreed. "But when has that stopped any of us?" The deputy looked like he wanted to argue more, but something in Caleb's face made him reconsider. He turned to his men. "Get some rest. We ride at dawn." They settled in for what was left of the night. Alara dozed fitfully, waking every hour to the sound of men breathing and the fire crackling and the endless replay of violence in her head. Just before dawn, she woke to find Caleb sitting beside her. "Can't sleep either?" she asked. "Don't need much anymore." He handed her a tin cup of coffee. "Drink this. We've got a long day ahead." The coffee was terrible but hot. Alara sipped it slowly, feeling the warmth spread through her chest. "What's the plan?" "We track Graves's crew north. They're wounded, disorganized. We hit them hard before they can regroup. And if they regroup anyway, then we hit them harder. That's not much of a plan. It's the only one we've got. He stood, checking his rifle. You sure about this? It's not too late to stay here. I'm sure. It's going to be bad, Alara. Worse than last night. I know. He studied her face in the dim light. All right. But you stay close to me. You don't take risks. And if I tell you to run, you run. Understood? Understood. They rode out as the sun broke over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold that would have been beautiful if Alara had been able to appreciate it. She was mounted behind Caleb on his horse. Brennan's men had lost their spare mounts in the fight, with her arms wrapped around his waist and her injured leg throbbing with every step. The tracker rode point. He was a lean man named Samuels with sharp eyes and hands that never stopped moving, always touching trees, examining the ground, reading signs Alara couldn't begin to interpret. Blood trail, he called back after an hour. Fresh. They came through here maybe 6 hours ago. How many? Brennan asked. 4 sets of tracks. One horse is favoring its left front leg, probably carrying a wounded man. So we've got them down to 4, one of Brennan's men said. Good odds. Don't get cocky, Caleb warned. 4 desperate men with nothing to lose are more dangerous than 10 who think they'll live to spend their money. They pushed on. The terrain grew rougher, the trail climbing into the foothills. Alara's leg was screaming, but she bit down on the pain and stayed quiet. Complaining wouldn't help anyone. Around midday, Samuels held up a hand. Everyone stopped. What is it? Brennan whispered. Camp, maybe half a mile ahead. Samuels pointed to a thin column of smoke rising above the trees. They stopped to rest. Or to set a trap, Caleb said. Only one way to find out. Brennan dismounted. We go in on foot. Quiet. Samuels, take point. Murphy, your rear guard. Everyone else spread out. And for the love of, be careful. Caleb helped Alara down from the horse. Her leg nearly gave out, but she caught herself on a tree, gritting her teeth. You should stay with the horses, Caleb said quietly. No. Alara, I said no. She pulled the derringer from her pocket. It was loaded now. Caleb had given her fresh ammunition that morning. I'm coming. He looked like he wanted to argue, but instead he just nodded. Stay behind me. Step where I step. And for the love of everything, don't shoot unless you're absolutely certain of your target. They moved through the forest like ghosts. Samuels led the way, each step precise and silent. Alara did her best to match them, but her injured leg made stealth nearly impossible. Every branch that cracked underfoot sounded like a gunshot to her ears. The smell hit them first. Wood smoke and something else. Something rotten. Death. Samuels raised a fist. Everyone froze. The camp was in a small clearing ahead. Alara could see the remains of a fire, still smoking, bedrolls scattered around it, and bodies. 3 of them, sprawled in the dirt. Brennan moved in first, gun drawn. He checked each body, then looked back at the group. Dead. All 3 of them. How long? Caleb asked. Hour, maybe 2. What killed them? Brennan rolled one of the bodies over. There was a bullet hole in the back of the man's head. Execution style. Close range. Alara felt sick. Why would Graves kill his own men? Because they were wounded and slowing him down, Caleb said grimly. And because dead men can't testify against him. Jesus. Murphy spat into the dirt. What kind of man does that? The kind we're hunting. Caleb studied the camp. Which way did he go? Samuels was already examining the ground. North, moving fast. Single rider now. Just Graves? Brennan asked. Looks like it. Then we've got him. Brennan's face was hard. He can't outrun all of us. They buried the bodies quickly, not out of respect, but because leaving them would draw scavengers and attention. Then they mounted up and rode hard. The trail led higher into the mountains, following old game paths that barely qualified as trails. Alara's whole body ached from the constant jarring, but she held on, focusing on Caleb's back, on keeping her seat, on not falling. As the afternoon wore on, the landscape changed. The trees thinned out, replaced by rocky slopes and loose scree. The air grew colder, thinner. They were getting high up now, into territory that was dangerous even without outlaws to worry about. He's heading for the old mining country, Murphy said. Probably knows the area. Could have a hideout up here. Or he's just running, Brennan said. No! Caleb's voice was certain. Graves doesn't run. He's leading us somewhere. A trap? Maybe. Or maybe he's got reinforcements we don't know about. Alara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the altitude. How many men does he usually work with? 6 to 8, Caleb said. We've accounted for most of them, but there could be more. Men he keeps in reserve. That's a comforting thought. Wasn't meant to be comforting. Was meant to be true. The trail led to an old mining camp, a collection of rotting buildings clustered around the mouth of a played-out shaft. It looked like it had been abandoned for decades. Rusted equipment littered the ground. A broken cart sat on its side, wheels gone. He went in there, Samuel said, pointing to the largest building, what had probably been the main office once. Brennan signaled for everyone to spread out. They approached slowly, weapons ready. The door hung open, creaking in the wind. Inside was darkness and the smell of decay. Caleb went in first. Alara followed despite his hand motion telling her to stay back. If there was going to be shooting, she wanted to be able to shoot back. The interior was a wreck. Broken furniture, shattered glass. And in the center of the room, a man. Not Graves. Someone else. Young, maybe 20, with a bullet wound in his chest and terror in his eyes. Help, he whispered. Please. Caleb approached cautiously. Where's Graves? Gone. He shot me. Left me. The young man coughed, blood flecking his lips. Said I was useless. Where did he go? North, to the old stamp mill. He's got men there. 12, maybe more. Another cough, wetter this time. You're walking into a massacre. Brennan swore. 12 men? That's an army. It's a lie, Murphy said. He's trying to scare us off. Look at him, Caleb said quietly. He's dying. Why would he lie? The young man grabbed Caleb's sleeve. I didn't want any of this. Graves, he promised us money, fresh starts. But it was all killing, just killing. What's your name? Alara asked. Billy Marsh. Where are you from, Billy? Kentucky. Came west looking for work. He coughed again, harder. Found Graves instead. We can get you to a doctor, Brennan said. No, too late for that. Billy's eyes found Alara. You're her, the one from the stage. She nodded. I'm sorry. I didn't shoot. Told Graves I wouldn't shoot women and children. That's why he gestured weakly at his chest. It's all right, Alara said, though it wasn't. Nothing about this was all right. Tell my mother. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I tried to be good. I will, Alara lied. Billy smiled. Then his eyes went distant and the breath rattled out of him and he was gone. Caleb closed the young man's eyes. We need to decide. Do we believe him about the stamp mill? Could be the truth, Samuel said. Could be a dying man's revenge, sending us into a trap. Or it could be both, Murphy added. Truth and a trap. Brennan looked at his men. We're 3 hours from Helena. We could get reinforcements. Come back with 20 men. By which time Graves will be gone, Caleb said. If he's got 12 men at that stamp mill, he's not running anymore. He's making a stand. And if we give him time to dig in, we'll never root him out. So what do you suggest? Caleb was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was calm, measured. We hit them now. Hard and fast. Use surprise to even the odds. That's suicide, one of Brennan's men said. Maybe, but it's our best shot. Your best shot at getting killed, the man shot back. I've been trying to get killed for 8 years, Caleb said. Hasn't worked yet. Brennan looked at his men, then at Caleb, then at Alara. What do you think? Everyone turned to look at her. Alara felt the weight of their stares, the pressure of the decision hanging in the air. I think, she said slowly, that Graves won't stop. Not unless we stop him. Not unless we end this. She met Caleb's eyes. And I think if we run now, he'll just hunt us again. And again. Until one of us is dead. You heard the lady, Caleb said. We're doing this. They rode for the stamp mill as the sun began its descent toward the horizon. None of them spoke. There was nothing left to say. The mill sat in a narrow valley, a massive timber structure built against the mountainside. Water had once powered it, channeled down from the peaks through a system of sluices and wheels. Now everything was still, silent, abandoned. Except it wasn't. Smoke rose from 3 different chimneys. Horses were corralled behind the building, and men, at least a dozen of them, moved between the structures with the easy confidence of people who thought they were safe. Billy was telling the truth, Murphy whispered. They were watching from a ridge overlooking the valley, hidden in a stand of pines. The sun was low now, painting everything in shades of red and gold. How do we play this? Brennan asked. Caleb studied the layout. Main building's got 3 entrances, front, back, and that loading door on the east side. They'll have men watching all of them. What about the mill wheel? What about it? Could climb up the sluice system, come in from above. Caleb considered it. Risky. What? One person falls, makes noise, we're done. One person, Murphy said. I'll go. I'm good with heights. Take Samuels with you, Brennan said. He's quiet. What about the rest of us? One of the other men asked. We wait for their signal, Caleb said. When the shooting starts from above, we hit the front and back simultaneously, create chaos. In the confusion, we take out as many as we can. And Graves? Graves is mine. Alara listened to them plan, feeling useless. What about me? You stay here, Caleb said. Like hell I do. Alara, I can shoot. You taught me yourself. This isn't target practice. This is a war. I know that. She pulled the Derringer. 2 shots. I won't waste them. Caleb looked like he wanted to argue, but Brennan cut in. Let her come. We need every gun we can get. She's injured. So were you when you took out those claim jumpers in Bozeman, Brennan said. She wants to fight. Let her fight. Caleb's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Fine. But you stay with me. You don't move unless I move. And if I say run, I run. I know. Murphy and Samuel slipped away into the gathering darkness, moving like shadows. The rest of them waited, counting minutes that felt like hours. The valley grew darker. Lights appeared in the mill's windows. Voices drifted up, men laughing, arguing, living their last moments without knowing it. Alara's hands were shaking. She gripped the Derringer tighter, feeling the metal warm against her palm. Beside her, Caleb was completely still, watching the mill with the patience of a predator. You scared? She whispered. Yes. Does it get easier? No. Good. He glanced at her. Good? Means you're still human. Something that might have been a smile touched his face. Jury's still out on that. A shot cracked from inside the mill, then another. Shouts. Confusion. Now, Caleb said. They moved down the ridge, half running, half sliding. Brennan and his men broke off toward the back, while Caleb and Alara made for the front entrance. The door burst open and men poured out, weapons drawn. Caleb fired twice. 2 men dropped. The rest scattered, taking cover. Return fire erupted from the windows. Bullets kicked up dirt around them. Caleb dragged Alara behind a water trough, the wood splintering as rounds punched through it. This is bad, Alara shouted over the gunfire. Gets worse. Caleb fired around the trough's edge. They've got better cover than we do. Inside the mill, more shooting. Murphy and Samuels doing their part. Outside, Brennan's men were pinned down behind the horse corral, taking heavy fire. A man emerged from the mill carrying a rifle. He took aim at Caleb. Alara didn't think. Just raised the Derringer and fired. The man spun, clutching his arm. Not dead, but out of the fight. Good shot, Caleb said. 1 bullet left. The fight devolved into chaos. Smoke and muzzle flashes and men screaming. Alara lost track of who was winning, lost track of everything except staying alive. Then Brennan went down. He took a bullet to the leg and collapsed behind the corral, cursing. One of his men dragged him to better cover, but they were effectively out of the fight now. We're losing, Alara said. Not yet. Caleb reloaded his rifle with practiced speed. Murphy, where are you? A voice from above. East side. We've got 3 down, but there's more. How many more? Too many, Caleb swore. He looked at Alara. I need you to do something. What? When I move, you run for that stack of lumber. He pointed to a pile of cut boards 30 feet away. Get behind it and stay there. Don't come out no matter what you hear. What are you going to do? Something stupid. He checked his rifle. On 3. 1, Caleb. 2, I can't make it that far. 3. He stood and charged the mill entrance, firing as he ran. Every gun turned toward him. Alara ran. Her legs screamed, but she ignored it, pumping her arms, pushing herself harder than she ever had. Bullets chewed up the ground around her. She dove behind the lumber pile, landing hard on her shoulder. Caleb made it to the door. He kicked it open and disappeared inside. Alara couldn't see him anymore, could only hear the gunfire intensifying, echoing from inside the mill's wooden walls. She clutched the derringer. 1 bullet left. 1 chance. The shooting inside reached a crescendo, then suddenly stopped. Silence rushed in, broken only by the sound of men groaning and the crackle of a fire that had started somewhere in the chaos. Then a figure emerged from the mill. Graves. He looked untouched, not a scratch on him. In his hand was a pistol, and in front of him, forced to walk, was Caleb. Blood ran down Caleb's face from a cut above his eye. His rifle was gone. His hands were empty. Graves had him. "Everyone stop shooting," Graves called out, "or your marshal dies." The remaining gunfire sputtered to silence. Murphy and Samuels appeared on the roof of the mill, weapons trained on Graves but not firing. Brennan's men stayed behind cover, watching. "That's better." Graves pressed his pistol to the back of Caleb's head. "Now here's how this is going to work. You're all going to ride away. Leave your weapons, leave the woman, and maybe, I let your friend here live." "Don't do it," Caleb shouted. "He's lying. He'll kill me anyway." Graves hit him with the pistol butt. Caleb staggered but didn't fall. "Shut up." Graves looked around the valley. "Where is she? Where's the witness?" No one answered. "I know she's here. I can feel it." His voice rose. "Come out, Miss Quinn. Show yourself, or I paint the ground with your marshal's brains." Alara's heart was hammering so hard she thought it might break her ribs. The derringer was slick with sweat in her hand. 1 bullet. Caleb's eyes found her hiding spot. He shook his head slightly. No. But she was already moving. She stood, stepping out from behind the lumber pile. Every gun in the valley turned toward her. "I'm here," she said. Graves smiled. "There you are. The persistent Miss Quinn. You've caused me considerable trouble." "Good. Walk toward me. Slowly. Hands where I can see them." Alara walked. Each step felt like it took a year. Her leg was agony, but she kept moving, kept her face blank. 20 feet away, 15, 10. "That's close enough," Graves said. He studied her. "You're braver than I expected. Or more foolish. Hard to tell which." "Let him go," Alara said. "You've got me. That's what you wanted. I've got both of you. That's even better." "You won't make it out of this valley alive." Graves laughed. "Yes, I will, because if anyone shoots me, I kill you both before I die. And none of these men want that on their conscience." He pressed the pistol harder against Caleb's head. "Isn't that right, Marshal?" "She's right," Caleb said quietly. "You're a dead man. You just don't know it yet." Big talk from someone with a gun to his head. Not talk, promise. Something shifted in Graves's expression. For the first time, uncertainty crept in. He glanced around the valley, counting guns, calculating odds. That's when Caleb moved. He grabbed Graves's wrist, forcing the pistol away from his head. They struggled, the gun between them. "Alara, shoot!" But she couldn't. They were too close together. If she missed, the gun went off. Both men staggered apart. For a moment, Alara couldn't tell who'd been hit. Then Caleb's hand went to his side, came away red. "No!" Alara screamed. Graves raised his pistol, aiming at Caleb's head. Alara raised the derringer. Center, mass. "Don't close your eyes." She fired. The bullet caught Graves in the chest. He looked down at the spreading red stain, surprised. His pistol wavered. Caleb lunged forward, grabbing Graves around the waist. Both men crashed toward the edge of the loading platform. Alara saw what was about to happen. "Caleb, no!" But it was too late. They went over together, tumbling down the steep slope beyond the mill. Rocks and scree and the sound of bodies hitting stone. Then silence. Alara ran. Her leg gave out halfway there and she fell, crawled, pulled herself forward with her hands. Murphy and Samuels were climbing down from the roof. Brennan was limping toward the slope, shouting orders. She reached the edge and looked down. 30 feet below, Graves lay broken on the rocks. His neck was bent at an impossible angle. His eyes stared at nothing. And beside him, barely moving, was Caleb. "Help me!" Alara screamed. "Someone help me!" Murphy was there first, scrambling down the slope with a rope. Together they hauled Caleb up, careful not to jostle him too much. His face was gray, his breathing shallow. The wound in his side was bleeding badly. "Stay with me," Alara said, pressing her hands against the wound. Blood welled between her fingers. "Don't you dare die on me." Caleb's eyes fluttered open. "Did we get him?" "Yes. He's dead." "Good." His hand found hers. "Told you. Not done yet." "You're not done now either, you hear me? You're going to be fine." "Liar." "Damn right I'm lying." Tears were streaming down her face. "But you're still going to live." Brennan appeared with bandages. Between them, they got the bleeding slowed. Not stopped, but slowed. Enough to maybe have a chance. "We need to get him to Helena," Murphy said. "Fast." "Can he make the ride?" "Does he have a choice?" They fashioned a travois from broken boards and rope, lashing Caleb to it as gently as they could. He passed out halfway through, which was probably a mercy. The ride back was a nightmare. Every bump, every jolt threatened to start the bleeding again. Alara rode beside the travois, one hand gripping Caleb's, talking to him even though he couldn't hear her. "You're going to be fine. We're almost there. Just hold on." But Helena was 3 days away, and night was falling, and she could feel him slipping away with every mile. They didn't make it 3 days. Halfway through the second night, Caleb's fever spiked so high that Alara could feel the heat radiating off him even through the blankets they'd piled on top of him. His breathing had gone ragged, each breath a wet rattle that made her stomach clench. "We have to stop," she told Brennan. The deputy looked at the sky. No moon, just darkness and stars and the endless whisper of wind through pine trees. "If we stop, he dies. If we don't stop, he dies anyway. Look at him." Brennan looked. Even in the dim light from their torches, Caleb's face was gray as ash. His lips were cracked and bleeding. The bandages around his torso were soaked through with blood and something else. Something that smelled wrong. "Infection," Murphy said quietly. He'd been riding alongside the travois, checking Caleb every hour. "Wound's gone bad. Probably got dirt in it during the fall." "Can we clean it?" Alara asked. "Not out here. Not properly. He needs a surgeon." "Then we ride faster." "Ma'am, with respect, we're already pushing these horses as hard as we can. Any faster, and they'll drop." Alara wanted to scream, wanted to rage at the unfairness of it all. Caleb had survived 8 years of hunting killers, had survived losing his family, had survived bullets and knives and every kind of violence the frontier could throw at him, and now he was dying from an infection because they couldn't get him to a doctor fast enough. "There's a trading post," Samuel said suddenly, "maybe 10 miles east of here, run by a woman named Chen. She's got medical supplies, might be able to help." "Might?" Alara's voice was sharp. "She's not a doctor, but she's patched up plenty of miners and trappers. Better than nothing." Brennan nodded. "We go there. Murphy, you and Davis keep heading for Helena. Get a real doctor and bring him back to Chen's place." "That'll take 2 days at least," Murphy said. "Then you better ride fast." They split up. Murphy and Davis rode hard for Helena, while the rest of them turned east, following Samuel's through increasingly rough terrain. The travois bounced and jarred over rocks and roots. Every time Caleb groaned, Alara felt it like a knife between her ribs. The trading post appeared just as the sky was starting to lighten, a rough collection of buildings clustered around a wide creek. Smoke rose from the main structure's chimney. Dogs started barking before they even reached the yard. A woman emerged from the building. She was small, maybe 50, with iron gray hair pulled back in a severe bun. Her eyes were sharp, missing nothing as she took in the group of exhausted riders and the man on the travois. "Chen," Samuel said, "we need help." "I can see that." Her voice carried the faint trace of an accent. Chinese, Alara thought. Chen moved to the travois, pulling back the blankets. Her face didn't change, but Alara saw her jaw tighten. "Bring him inside." Carefully. The interior of the trading post was cluttered, but clean. Shelves lined the walls, stocked with everything from ammunition to canned goods to bolts of fabric. Chen cleared a large table near the stove, and they lifted Caleb onto it. "Everyone out except one," Chen said. "I need space to work." "I'm staying," Alara said. Chen looked at her. You're the one they were hunting. It wasn't a question. Alara nodded anyway. Then you stay. The rest of you wait outside. Boil water, and someone get my medical kit from the back room. The men filed out. Chen lit several lanterns, positioning them around the table. In the bright light, Caleb looked even worse. His skin had taken on a yellowish tinge. The wound in his side was angry and swollen, oozing fluid that definitely wasn't just blood. How long has he been like this? Chen asked, cutting away the bandages. The fever started last night, but he was shot 2 days ago. 2 days? Chen shook her head. Why didn't you bring him here sooner? We were trying to get to Helena. Helena's 3 days away. He'd have been dead in 1. She examined the wound, her fingers gentle but thorough. Bullet still in there, lodged against a rib, probably. And yes, infected, badly. Can you save him? Chen was quiet for a moment. I can try, but I need you to understand something. This is going to be bad, worse than anything you've seen. And there's a good chance he won't survive it, even if I do everything right. What are his odds? Honestly, maybe 1 in 3, and that's being generous. Alara felt something break inside her chest. That's not good enough. It's all I can offer. Chen started laying out instruments on a clean cloth. Scalpels, forceps, a saw that made Alara's stomach turn. You can stay and help me, or you can leave. But decide now, because once I start, I can't stop. I'm staying. Then wash your hands, thoroughly. Use the soap by the basin. Alara washed until her hands were raw. When she turned back, Chen had cut away the rest of Caleb's shirt and was cleaning the wound with something that smelled like alcohol and turpentine. Hold him down, Chen said. This is going to hurt. He's unconscious. Not for long. Chen was right. The moment she inserted the probe into the wound, Caleb's eyes flew open and he screamed. His whole body arched off the table. Alara threw herself across his chest, pinning him down with her weight. Hold him! Chen's voice was sharp. I can't work if he's moving. Brennan burst through the door. He grabbed Caleb's legs while Samuels took his arms. Between the 3 of them, they managed to keep him relatively still while Chen worked. The probe went deeper. Caleb was making sounds Alara had never heard before. Raw, animal sounds of pure agony. Tears streamed down his face. His eyes found Alara's, and she saw terror there. I know, she whispered. I know it hurts, but you have to let her work. Please. His hand found hers and gripped it so hard she thought bones might break. She held on anyway. Got it, Chen said. The probe came out, followed by the forceps. She worked carefully, precisely. Almost there. Almost. The bullet came free with a wet sound that made Alara's stomach heave. Chen dropped it into a tin cup where it clinked against the metal. But she wasn't done. The infection had spread into the muscle tissue. Chen cut away the dead flesh with quick, confident strokes. More blood, more of that wrong-smelling fluid. Caleb had stopped screaming. Now he was just shaking, his whole body trembling like he was freezing. Shock, Chen said. Keep him warm, and someone get me whiskey, the strong stuff. She poured whiskey directly into the wound. Caleb's back arched again, but there was no scream this time. Just a thin, keening sound that was somehow worse. Then Chen started stitching. Her hands were steady, each stitch neat and precise. By the time she finished, the wound was closed and packed with clean bandages. That's all I can do, she said, stripping off her bloody apron. The rest is up to him. Alara looked at Caleb. His eyes were closed now, his breathing shallow but steady. The fever was still there. She could see it in the flush of his cheeks, but something about him looked different. Like maybe, just maybe, he had a chance. What now? She asked. Now we wait. The fever will get worse before it gets better. He'll need constant care. Someone to keep him cool, make him drink water when he can, watch for signs that the infection is spreading. I'll do it. Chen looked at her, really looked at her. When's the last time you slept? I don't know, 2 days? 3? You're no good to him if you collapse. There's a cot in the back room. Use it. I'll watch him for a few hours. I can't. Yes, you can. And you will. Chen's voice softened slightly. He's going to need you when he wakes up. Better you're rested when that happens. Alara wanted to argue, but exhaustion hit her like a physical blow. Her legs were shaking. Her vision was blurring at the edges. She made it to the cot, and collapsed onto it without even removing her boots. She was asleep before her head hit the pillow. She woke to someone shaking her shoulder. Brennan's face swam into focus above her. "How long?" she asked. 6 hours. It's afternoon now." "Caleb?" "Still alive, fever's holding steady. Chen says that's actually good, means the infection isn't spreading." Alara sat up too fast and the room spun. "I need to see him. He's not awake, hasn't been since the surgery." "I don't care. I need to see him." Caleb was right where she'd left him, lying on the table that Chen had covered with blankets to make it more comfortable. Someone had washed the blood off his face and combed his hair back. He looked almost peaceful except for the fever flush and the too fast rise and fall of his chest. Alara pulled a chair up beside him and took his hand. It was burning hot. "I'm here," she said quietly. "You're not alone." Chen came in carrying a basin of water and clean cloths. "You need to keep him cool. Wet cloths on his forehead, neck, wrists. Change them every few minutes when they get warm." Alara took the basin and started working. Wet the cloth, wring it out, place it on Caleb's forehead. Wait, repeat. Hours passed. The afternoon light through the windows turned golden, then orange, then faded to purple dusk. Brennan brought her food that she barely tasted. Chen checked Caleb's wound twice, changing the bandages both times. "It's holding," she said. "No new infection. That's good. When will he wake up?" "When his body's ready. Could be hours, could be days." "Days? Or never?" Chen met her eyes. "I'm not going to lie to you. He's not out of danger yet. The fever could spike, the infection could spread. His body could just decide it's had enough. But he could also wake up fine." "He could. I've seen stranger things." Chen paused at the door. "You care about him." It wasn't a question, but Alara answered anyway. "Yes." "Good. He's going to need that when he wakes up, if he wakes up." Night fell. Alara kept up her vigil, changing cloths, talking to Caleb even though he couldn't hear her. She told him about growing up in the mining camps, about her father who'd chased one worthless claim after another until it killed him, about the loneliness of being the only child in camps full of rough men, about dreaming of San Francisco and a life that made sense. "Doesn't seem so important anymore," she said, wringing out another cloth. "San Francisco, the job, all of it." She placed the cloth on his forehead. "Funny how almost dying changes your priorities." Around midnight, Caleb stirred. His eyes didn't open, but his hand tightened on hers. "Caleb, can you hear me?" His lips moved. She leaned closer. Sarah." The name was barely a whisper. His daughter. He was calling for his daughter. "Shh," Alara said, even though it hurt. "It's okay. I'm here. Sorry. Couldn't save." "You did save her." The lie came easily. "She's safe. Everyone's safe." He quieted after that, sinking back into fevered sleep. Alara sat back, her own eyes burning. 8 years and he was still carrying that weight, still trying to save people he couldn't reach. Chen appeared in the doorway. "You should rest." "I'm fine. You're exhausted and your leg is bleeding again." Alara looked down. Chen was right. Fresh blood had soaked through the bandage on her thigh. She'd been ignoring it for so long she'd stopped noticing the pain. "Come on," Chen said. "Let me check it while he's quiet." Reluctantly, Alara let herself be led to a chair. Chen unwrapped the bandage and examined the wound Caleb had stitched in his cabin. It felt like years ago now instead of just days. "He did good work," Chen said. "But you've been pushing too hard. The stitches are pulling. Another few days of this and you'll tear them out completely." "I don't have a choice." "There's always a choice." Chen cleaned the wound and rebandaged it with fresh cloth. "You could rest. Let others watch him." "No." "Why not?" Alara was quiet for a long moment. "Because I owe him. He saved my life when he didn't have to. Kept me alive when anyone else would have left me to die. And now he's dying because of me. He's dying because he chose to fight. That's not on you. Isn't it? If I hadn't survived that stagecoach, then 7 people would still be dead and Graves would still be out there killing." Chen tied off the bandage. "You can't control what other people choose to do. You can only control what you choose. And what should I choose?" "That's up to you." Chen stood. "But whatever you choose, make sure it's what you want. Not what you think you owe." She left. Alara sat alone in the quiet trading post, listening to Caleb breathe and trying to figure out what she wanted. She'd been running for so long, running from the mining camps, running from her father's failures, running from a life that felt too small and too hard, and then running literally, fleeing from Graves and his men. But she wasn't running anymore. She went back to Caleb's side and took his hand again. "I don't know if you can hear me," she said quietly, "but I need to tell you something. I'm not leaving, not until you wake up, not until you tell me yourself to go." His hand was still too warm, but she held it anyway. The night stretched on. Alara dozed in the chair, waking every hour to change the cloths and check his breathing. Around 3 in the morning, his fever spiked again. She could see it happening, the flush spreading down his neck, the sweat beating on his forehead faster than she could wipe it away. "Chen!" she called. The older woman appeared almost instantly, like she'd been waiting. She checked the wound, checked his pulse, felt his forehead. "Ice?" she said. "We need to cool him down faster. There's a creek out back. Get buckets of water, cold as you can find." Alara ran. Her legs screamed, but she ignored it, stumbling out into the night. The creek was freezing, fed by mountain snowmelt. She filled bucket after bucket, hauling them back inside. Chen had stripped the blankets away and was packing cloths soaked in cold water around Caleb's body. "Keep bringing water," she said. "We need to break this fever now or we're going to lose him." They worked through the night. Alara lost count of how many buckets she hauled. Her hands were numb from the icy water. Her leg was bleeding again. She could feel the wetness but couldn't spare the attention to care. Just before dawn, Caleb started shaking, violent tremors that rattled the table. "Good," Chen said. "His body's fighting back." "That's good?" "The shaking means his temperature's dropping. Just keep him from falling." Alara held him steady, her hands on his shoulders, talking to him in a steady stream of words that didn't mean anything except that someone was there. The shaking subsided gradually. By the time the sun broke over the mountains, Caleb's fever had dropped. Not gone, still too warm, but manageable. Chen checked his wound one more time. "Still clean. I think we're through the worst of it." "You think?" "In medicine, nothing's certain, but his color's better, breathing's steadier. If the fever stays down, he might actually make it." "If." Might. Alara held on to those words like a lifeline. 2 more days passed in a blur. Caleb drifted in and out of consciousness, never fully waking, but sometimes responding to voices. Murphy and Davis returned with a doctor from Helena, a harried-looking man who examined Caleb, praised Chen's work, and admitted there was nothing more he could do that hadn't already been done. "Keep him comfortable," the doctor said. "Keep the wound clean, and pray." Alara didn't pray. She just kept watch. On the 3rd morning, Caleb's eyes opened. Not the fevered half-consciousness of before, really opened, focused. "Alara?" His voice was barely a rasp. She almost fell out of her chair. "I'm here. I'm right here." "Where?" "Chen's trading post. You've been unconscious for 3 days." He tried to sit up and immediately fell back, gasping. "What happened?" "You got shot. Then you fell off a cliff with Graves. Then you got infected. Chen had to cut the bullet out." She grabbed his hand. "You almost died." "How almost?" "Very." He was quiet for a moment, processing. "Graves?" "Dead. You killed him." "We killed him." "Fine. We killed him." She couldn't stop the tears from coming. "You scared me." "Sorry." "Don't apologize. Just don't do it again." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "I'll try." Chen appeared with water and broth. "Welcome back, Marshal. You gave us quite a scare." "Apparently I'm good at that." He tried to drink, but his hands were shaking too badly. Alara held the cup for him while he sipped. The broth was thin but warm. Caleb managed half a cup before exhaustion pulled him under again. But this time his sleep was natural. No fever, no shaking, just rest. Alara finally let herself collapse onto the cot in the back room. She slept for 14 hours straight. When she woke, it was early morning and Caleb was sitting up. Actually sitting up, propped against the wall with pillows behind him. He looked terrible, gaunt and pale and weak, but he was awake and aware. "You're up," Alara said. "Barely." He gestured at his side. Chen says I'm not allowed to move for at least another week. You should listen to her. I plan to. He watched her approach. How's your leg? Better than your everything else. That's not saying much. She pulled the chair up beside him. In the morning light, she could see all the scars she'd never noticed before. Dozens of them, crisscrossing his arms and chest, evidence of a hard life lived dangerously. Chen told me what you did, he said quietly. Staying with me. The fever. All of it. Someone had to. Could have been anyone. Didn't have to be you. Yes, it did. She met his eyes. You don't have to face this pain alone. That's what you told me, remember? I remember. Well, same goes for you. He was quiet for a long moment. I dreamed about Sarah. About Kate. I know. You called for them. What did I say? That you were sorry, that you couldn't save them. His jaw tightened. That's the truth. No, it's not. You couldn't save them because you weren't there. That's not the same thing as failing. Feels the same. I know it does, but it's not. She took his hand. You saved me. Doesn't that count for something? No, does it? To me it does. He looked at their joined hands. What happens now? Now you heal, get strong, and then we figure out what comes next. What if I don't know what comes next? Then we'll figure it out together. The word hung in the air between them. Together. Outside, the sound of horses, voices. Brennan appeared in the doorway. Vance, good to see you awake. Good to be awake. Caleb shifted, wincing. What's the word from Helena? Territorial governor sends his thanks. Graves's gang is finished. The ones we didn't kill have scattered, probably headed for Canada. Brennan pulled up another chair. There's a reward. $500 for Graves, 100 each for his men. Comes out to about 1,200 total. Split it among your men. Already did. Your share's being held at the bank in Helena. Give it to Alara. Both Brennan and Alara stared at him. What? Alara said. You earned it. You shot Graves. We both take the money. Start over somewhere. San Francisco, if that's still what you want. Something cold settled in Alara's chest. You're telling me to leave. I'm telling you you're free. The threat's gone. You can go anywhere, be anyone. And what if I don't want to go anywhere? He looked at her. Then what do you want? Good question. What did she want? A week ago, the answer would have been simple. Safety. A job. A normal life in a civilized city where people didn't shoot each other in the street. But now, looking at Caleb, scarred and broken and still somehow the strongest person she'd ever met, the answer was different. I want to know what happens next, she said, with you. Alara? No. You don't get to push me away, not after everything. She leaned forward. You think I went through all this just to take some money and walk away? I think you deserve better than a broken-down lawman with nothing to offer. Stop telling me what I deserve and let me decide for myself. Brennan cleared his throat. I'm going to step outside. Let you two figure this out. He left. The silence stretched between them. I don't know how to do this, Caleb said finally. Do what? This. Care about someone again. Let someone care about me. He looked away. Last time I did that, I lost everything. I know. But you can't live your whole life afraid of losing. Can't I? You could. But that's not living. That's just surviving. She squeezed his hand. You taught me the difference, remember? He was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was rough. I don't have anything, Alara. No home, no money, no prospects. Just a badge and a past I can't shake. I don't care about any of that. You should. Well, I don't. She stood, pacing. You want to know what I care about? I care that you found me when I was dying and you saved me, even though it made no sense. I care that you stood between me and men who wanted me dead. I care that you fought for me when no one else would have. That was just... Don't you dare say it was just your job. Her voice was sharp. It stopped being just your job the moment you let me stay in that cabin. The moment you taught me to shoot. The moment you took a bullet meant for someone you barely knew. Ilara, I'm not done. You say you don't have anything to offer, but you're wrong. You have yourself, and that's enough. She turned to face him. So I'm asking you straight. Do you want me to go? No? Then say so. I want you to stay. Good. She sat back down. Because I'm staying. He looked at her like he couldn't quite believe she was real. Why? Because for the first time in my life, I found something worth staying for. His hand found hers again. This time, he held on tight. Outside, the sun climbed higher. The day went on. And in the quiet trading post, two people who'd survived everything the frontier could throw at them sat together and started figuring out what came next. Recovery was slower than either of them expected and harder than Caleb wanted to admit. The first time he tried to stand on his own. 3 days after waking up, his legs gave out and he went down like a felled tree. Ilara caught him halfway, both of them ending up in a heap on the floor. Chen found them there, laughing despite the pain, and read them both a lecture about patience that lasted 15 minutes. You're not young men anymore, she said, helping Caleb back to the cot. Your body needs time. I'm 42, not 80, Caleb grumbled. Your body doesn't know the difference right now. Chen checked his wound, still clean, healing well, but tender. Another week. Then we'll try again. A week felt like forever. Caleb was a terrible patient, restless and irritable, constantly trying to do more than he should. Ilara found him trying to dress himself one morning and took the shirt out of his hands. Let me help. I can do it. You've been trying for 10 minutes and you've gotten one arm in. Badly. She guided his other arm through the sleeve. Swallow your pride and accept help. I'm not good at that. I noticed. She buttoned the shirt, her fingers quick and efficient. You're going to have to learn. Is that an order? It's advice. From someone who had to learn the same thing. He was quiet while she finished. When she stepped back, he caught her hand. Thank you, he said. For what? For not treating me like I'm broken. You're not broken. You're healing. There's a difference. Over the days that followed, they fell into a rhythm. Ilara would help him with the things he couldn't do yet. Dressing, washing, walking when his balance failed. In return, he taught her things. How to clean a rifle properly. How to read tracks. How to tell if someone was lying just from the way they held their shoulders. Why are you teaching me this? She asked one afternoon. They were sitting outside in the weak autumn sun while Caleb showed her how to sharpen a knife. Because knowledge keeps you alive, and because, he paused, considering his words, because I won't always be around. Don't talk like that. I'm not being morbid, just practical. Frontier's dangerous. You should know how to take care of yourself. I already do. You know how to survive. That's not the same as knowing how to live. He tested the blade's edge, nodded, handed it back to her. Surviving is about getting through the day. Living is about having a reason to. Ilara studied the knife, running her thumb carefully along the spine. Is that what you've been doing? Just surviving? For 8 years, yeah. And now? He looked at her. Now I'm trying to remember how to do the other thing. Brennan came by once more before heading back to Helena, bringing news that the territorial governor had officially closed the case on Graves. All known associates were either dead or scattered. The strongbox money had been recovered and returned to the mining companies. There would be commendations, official thanks, probably some kind of ceremony if Caleb wanted it. I don't, Caleb said flatly. Figured. But the offer stands. Brennan shifted in his chair. There's something else. The Marshal Service wants you back. Regional Commander says they need experienced men, willing to overlook the fact that you've been working solo for 3 years if you'll take a posting in Helena. No. Caleb, I said no, Tom. Brennan looked at Ilara, then back at Caleb. Can I ask why? Because I'm tired. Tired of chasing bad men. Tired of seeing what people do to each other. Tired of carrying a gun. He touched his side where the wound was still tender. I've given enough. So what are you going to do? Haven't decided yet. After Brennan left, Ilara asked the question that had been gnawing at her. Did you mean that? About being tired of carrying a gun? Yes. But it's who you are. No, it's what I've been doing. There's a difference. He shifted on the cot, trying to find a comfortable position. Kate used to say I had a talent for missing the point. Took me 8 years to figure out what she meant. Which was? That justice and revenge aren't the same thing. That putting bad men in the ground doesn't bring good people back. That I was chasing ghosts instead of living. He looked at his hands, scarred, weathered, marked by violence. I think she'd want me to stop now. What would she want you to do instead? Live. Actually live. Find something worth protecting instead of something worth destroying. Alara was quiet for a moment. Have you found it? He met her eyes. I think maybe I have. 2 weeks after waking up, Caleb could walk without help. 3 weeks, and the wound had healed enough that Chen pronounced him fit to travel. The question was where. They sat outside Chen's trading post one evening as the sun set, painting the mountains in shades of purple and gold. Caleb had his rifle across his lap, not because he expected trouble, but because old habits died hard. I've been thinking, Alara said. About? San Francisco, the job I was supposed to take there. Something tightened in Caleb's chest. And? I sent a letter, told them I wouldn't be coming. Alara, let me finish. I told them I wouldn't be coming because I found something better. Something that matters more than a job in an office counting other people's money. What did you find? She looked at him. A reason to stay. The word settled over him like a weight. Not a burden, something else. Something he hadn't felt in 8 years. Hope. I don't know what I'm doing, he admitted. Don't know where I'm going or what comes next. All I know is I'm done being a marshal, done with that life. So what do you want instead? Something quiet, something honest, maybe a piece of land somewhere. Nothing fancy, just enough to build a house, raise some horses, live without looking over my shoulder every minute. That sounds nice? It sounds impossible. Why? Because I don't know how to do that. Don't know how to be that person. Alara shifted closer to him on the bench. Then we'll figure it out together, both of us. You taught me how to survive. Now I'll teach you how to live. You make it sound easy. It won't be, but nothing worth doing ever is. He took her hand. It fit in his like it belonged there. There's a valley, he said slowly, about 40 miles north of here. Found it years ago while tracking a gang. Most beautiful piece of land I've ever seen. Creek running through it, mountains on 3 sides, good grass for grazing. Why didn't you claim it? Because I was too busy chasing ghosts to build a life. He looked at her. But if you wanted, if you were willing to try... Yes. I didn't finish the question. I don't need you to. The answer's yes. A smile touched his face. The first real one she'd seen from him. You don't even know what you're saying yes to. I'm saying yes to you, to this, to whatever comes next. She squeezed his hand. That enough? More than enough. They left Chen's trading post a week later with 2 horses, supplies, and the money from the reward. Chen refused payment for the medical care. You saved this territory from a killer, she said. That's payment enough. You saved my life, Caleb countered. Then we're even. She handed Alara a bundle wrapped in oilcloth, food for the journey, and some herbs for the pain when it comes back. It won't, Caleb started. It will. That kind of wound, you'll feel it when the weather changes. Every winter for the rest of your life. Chen's expression softened. But you'll live. That's what matters. They rode north under clear skies. Alara's leg was still stiff, but stronger now, the wound reduced to a pink scar that would probably never fully fade. Caleb moved carefully, favoring his left side, but he could ride without help, and that was progress. The valley appeared on the 3rd day, exactly as Caleb had described it. A sweep of grassland between 3 mountain peaks, bisected by a clear creek that ran cold and fast. Aspen trees lined the water, their leaves turning gold with the coming autumn. It was isolated, remote, and absolutely perfect. Here? Alara asked. Here. They made camp that first night under the aspens. Caleb built a fire while Alara unpacked their supplies. The silence between them was comfortable, easy, like they'd been doing this for years instead of weeks. After they ate, Caleb pulled out a piece of paper he'd been carrying, a rough sketch of a house. Nothing fancy. 1 main room with a sleeping loft, a stone fireplace, a covered porch facing east to catch the morning sun. I drew this up while I was recovering, he said. Kept thinking about what I'd build if I had the chance. Elara studied the sketch. It's small. It's what we need. We can add on later if... He stopped. If what? If we need more room for a family, if that's something you'd want. She looked at him in the firelight. Are you asking what I think you're asking? I don't know. What do you think I'm asking? I think you're asking if I'd marry you, in the most roundabout, awkward way possible. He had the grace to look embarrassed. I'm not good at this. I noticed. She set the sketch down. But yes. Yes? Yes, I'll marry you. Yes, I want to build that house. Yes, I want to try for a family. Yes to all of it. Just like that? Just like that. She moved closer to him. Unless you're getting cold feet? No. Just can't believe you'd say yes to someone like me. Someone like you? You mean someone who saved my life? Who fought for me when he didn't have to? Who's brave and stubborn and terrible at asking for what he wants? She took his hand. Yeah, can't imagine why I'd say yes to that. He pulled her close and kissed her. It was awkward at first, both of them out of practice, both carrying too many scars. But then it wasn't awkward at all. It was right. When they pulled apart, Elara was smiling. We should probably make this official. How? There's a preacher in Helena. We could ride there, get married proper. Or, Caleb said, we could make our own promises here. Just us. No ceremony, no fuss. Just the two of us choosing this. That's not legal. Don't care about legal. Care about meaning it. Elara thought about it. A proper wedding meant going back to civilization, dealing with officials and paperwork and all the things they'd just escaped. Or they could do it their way, make their own rules. All right, she said. How do we do this? I don't know. Never done it before. They stood facing each other in the firelight. Caleb took both her hands in his. I promise, he said, to stand with you, to protect you when you need protecting and step back when you don't. To be honest, even when it's hard. To try to be the man you see in me even when I can't see it myself. Elara swallowed hard. I promise to stay. To fight beside you when there's fighting to be done, and to fight with you when you're being stubborn. To remind you that surviving isn't the same as living. To build something with you that matters. That enough? Caleb asked. For me it is. For me too. He kissed her again, and that was that. Married by their own rules in a valley with no witnesses except the stars and the mountains and the creek running clear over stone. They started building the next day. Neither of them knew much about construction, but they learned. Caleb had built his cabin 3 years ago, so he knew the basics. How to fell trees, how to notch logs, how to stack them straight. Elara learned by doing, by making mistakes, and figuring out how to fix them. The work was hard. By the end of each day, they were both exhausted, muscles screaming, hands blistered. But it was good work, honest work. Building instead of destroying. I never thought I'd do this, Caleb said one evening. They were sitting on a log, sharing water, looking at the foundation they'd laid. Do what? Build something meant to last. Everything I've done for 8 years has been about ending things. Ending threats, ending lives, ending my own grief by staying too busy to feel it. And now? Now I'm trying to start something. It's harder than I expected. Because? He was quiet for a moment. Because starting means hoping, and hoping means risking loss again. Elara understood. She'd been running from the same thing, from the risk of caring about something enough that losing it would hurt. But running hadn't kept her safe. It had just kept her alone. We can't live our whole lives afraid, she said. I know. But we can live them careful, grateful for what we have while we have it. He looked at her. When did you get so wise? About the same time I stopped running and started staying. The house went up slowly. 4 walls, a roof, a door that hung straight, windows that let in light. It wasn't fancy, but it was solid, built to withstand Montana winters and Montana storms. They finished it just as the first snow started falling, light flakes that dusted the valley in white. Standing inside their new home, watching snow fall through the window, Elara felt something she hadn't felt since before her father died. Peace. What are you thinking? Caleb asked. That this is enough. This house, this valley, you, it's enough. Not too small? Not too isolated? Perfect. Winter came hard that year. The snow piled high and the temperatures dropped low, and there were days when they couldn't leave the cabin at all. But they didn't mind. They had wood for the fire, food in the stores, and each other. Caleb taught Alara to play chess with pieces he'd carved from pine. She taught him to cook something other than beans and salt pork. They read books by firelight. Chen had given them a box of them as a parting gift. They talked about everything and nothing. They learned each other's rhythms. Some days were harder than others. Caleb had nightmares sometimes, waking up gasping and reaching for a gun that wasn't there. Alara would hold him until the shaking stopped, until he remembered where he was. I see them sometimes, he admitted one night. Kate and Sarah. In my dreams they're alive, and then I wake up and remember. Does it help to talk about them? I don't know. I've spent 8 years not talking about them. Maybe that's the problem. So he talked, told her about Kate's laugh, about Sarah's stubbornness, about the life they'd built before it was ripped away. The words came hard at first, then easier, and something about saying their names out loud, keeping their memory alive without letting it consume him, felt like healing. Alara had her own ghosts, the stagecoach, the baby, the mother reaching for her child. Some nights she'd wake up gasping, certain she could hear gunfire. Caleb would be there, steady and solid, reminding her she was safe. Does it get better? She asked once. The memories? No, but you get stronger, better at carrying them. I killed a man. I know. Does that ever stop feeling wrong? I hope not, Caleb said quietly. The day it stops feeling wrong is the day we become what we fought against. Spring came eventually, melting the snow and bringing green back to the valley. They planted a garden, vegetables and herbs, bought chickens from a traveling trader, started building a stable for the horses. Life settled into something almost normal. One evening in late spring, Alara told Caleb she was pregnant. He went very still. You're sure? As sure as I can be without a doctor. I've missed 2 months and I've been sick every morning. How do you feel about it? Terrified, excited, both at the same time. She took his hand. How do you feel? Caleb was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough. Scared. More scared than I've been since Sarah died. Because? Because I couldn't protect them. Kate and Sarah. I failed them. You didn't fail them. You weren't there. That's not the same thing. Feels the same. Alara pulled him close. I know it does. But we're not them. This isn't that. And you're not that person anymore. How can you be sure? Because that person was running from grief. You're running toward something now, toward life, toward us. He held her tight, his face buried in her hair. She could feel him shaking. I can't lose you, he whispered. Then don't. Be here. Be present. That's all I need. The baby came in January, born during a snowstorm that buried the valley in 3 feet of white. Chen came. Alara had sent word months earlier asking her to be there. The older woman arrived just in time, bringing medical supplies and calm competence. The labor was hard. 16 hours of pain that had Alara cursing every choice that had led her to this moment. But when it was over and Chen placed a squalling, red-faced baby girl in her arms, all the pain evaporated. She's perfect, Alara breathed. Caleb stood beside the bed, looking at his daughter with an expression Alara had never seen before. Wonder and terror mixed together. Do you want to hold her? Alara asked. He shook his head. I might break her. You won't. Come on. Carefully, so carefully, he took the baby. She fit in his scarred hands like she belonged there. Her tiny fingers wrapped around his thumb, and something in his face just crumbled. Hello, little one, he whispered. We need a name, Alara said. Caleb looked at her. I was thinking, if you're all right with it, maybe Catherine, after my wife, or Sarah, after my daughter. What about both? Catherine Sarah Vance? You'd do that? Give her their names? They were part of you, part of how you got here. It feels right to honor them. He kissed her forehead. Catherine Sarah Vance it is. The baby, Katie they called her, changed everything. Sleepless nights became routine. Feeding schedules dictated their days. The quiet house filled with the sound of crying and cooing and all the noise that comes with new life. Caleb was terrified at first, afraid to hold her too long, afraid he'd do something wrong, afraid history would repeat itself. But Alara was patient with him, showing him that parenting was just figuring things out as you went. Nobody knew what they were doing. They were all just trying their best. One night, when Katie was 3 months old, Alara found Caleb standing over the baby's cradle. His face was wet. "Caleb, I was thinking about Sarah, about Kate, about how much I've missed." His voice broke. 8 years. 8 years of grief and anger and running, and I almost missed this too. Alara put her arms around him. "But you didn't. You're here now." "Because you wouldn't let me keep running." "No, you stopped running yourself. I just gave you a reason to." He turned to face her. "I used to think loving someone again would dishonor Kate's memory, that moving forward meant leaving them behind. And now? Now I think Kate would want this, would want me to be happy, to live." He looked at their sleeping daughter. "To give Sarah a sister, even if they'll never meet. They're both part of her, part of us. They always will be." "I know." He pulled Alara close. "Thank you." "For what?" "For being stubborn enough to stay when anyone smart would have run. For seeing something in me worth saving. For giving me a reason to stop surviving and start living. You did the same for me. Then we're even." The years that followed were good ones. Not perfect. Life never is. There were hard winters and crop failures and the endless work that comes with running a ranch. Katie grew into a wild, fearless child who loved horses and hated baths. Caleb taught her to ride before she could barely walk. Alara taught her to read, to cook, to shoot straight. When Katie was 5, a son came. Andrew, named after Alara's father. He was quieter than his sister, more thoughtful. Where Katie was all fire and motion, Drew was careful and considered. Caleb proved to be a better father the second time around, less afraid, more present. He taught his children everything he knew about surviving in Montana, but more importantly, he taught them how to live with purpose, how to be kind without being weak, how to stand up for what mattered. Sometimes travelers would come through the valley, prospectors, traders, occasionally a lawman tracking someone. Caleb would feed them, give them shelter, but he never volunteered that he'd once been a marshal. That life was done. Put away like an old coat that no longer fit. One day when Katie was 10 and Drew was 5, a stranger came to the ranch. He was young, maybe 25, wearing a deputy's badge and carrying himself with the arrogance of someone who'd never really been tested. "I'm looking for Caleb Vance," he said. Caleb was in the stable, showing Drew how to muck a stall properly. "You found him." The deputy looked him over, older now, gray in his hair and beard, wearing farmer's clothes instead of a marshal's coat. "You're really him? The man who took down Thomas Graves?" "That was a long time ago. Territorial Marshal Service sent me. They want you back. There's a gang working the Northern Territories, killing people, robbing stages. They need experienced men." Caleb set down his pitchfork. "Tell them no." "But I said no. I'm retired." "People are dying. People are always dying. That's not my problem anymore." The deputy's face flushed. "You're just going to hide out here while good people get killed?" Caleb looked at him. "I spent 8 years hunting bad men. Killed more than I can count. And you know what it changed? Nothing. There's always another gang, another killer, another threat. I can't stop all of them. Nobody can." "So you just quit?" "No. I chose something else. Chose to build instead of destroy. Chose to raise my children in peace instead of violence. Chose to actually live instead of just surviving." He picked up the pitchfork again. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got work to do." The deputy left angry. Alara, who'd been listening from the house, came out. "You handled that well," she said. "Did I? Part of me wanted to go." "I know, but you didn't. Because I made a choice 10 years ago, to be here, with you, with them." He gestured to where Katie was teaching Drew to ride. "Some days it's hard. Some days I hear about what's happening out there, and I think I should be doing something. But then I remember I did do something. I built this. And maybe that matters more than hunting one more gang." Alara kissed his cheek. "It does matter. To me, to them, to everyone who gets to grow up in the world you're creating here." The truth was their valley had become a sort of refuge. Word spread over the years. If you needed help, if you were running from trouble, If you needed a fresh start, there was a ranch in a valley 40 miles north where a former marshal and his wife would help if they could. They took in a girl running from an abusive husband, gave her work and shelter until she could get on her feet. They hired a former outlaw trying to go straight, teaching him honest work. They fed travelers and gave shelter to anyone who needed it. It wasn't grand, it wasn't heroic, but it was good work, the kind that mattered. One evening, when Caleb was 50 and Alara was 42, they sat on their porch watching the sunset paint the mountains gold. The children were inside, arguing over whose turn it was to set the table. The sound of their voices, alive, happy, safe, was the best sound in the world. "Do you ever regret it?" Caleb asked. "Regret what?" "Staying, choosing this instead of San Francisco, instead of safety and civilization and all the things you could have had." Alara thought about it, about the girl she'd been, running from violence, desperate for a fresh start in a city far away, about the woman she'd become, scarred and strong and standing her ground. "No," she said, "I don't regret any of it." "Not even the hard parts?" "Especially not the hard parts. They made me who I am, made us who we are." He took her hand. After all these years, it still fit perfectly in his. "I was thinking," he said, "about what to tell the children, about what happened, about Graves and the stagecoach and all of it." "What will you tell them?" "The truth. That sometimes life puts you in impossible situations, that sometimes you have to fight, but also that survival isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning." He looked at her. "That the bravest thing you can do isn't killing your enemies. It's choosing to live after. Choosing to build something good out of something terrible." "That's a good lesson." "You think?" "I know, because it's what you taught me." They sat in comfortable silence as the sun sank lower. Somewhere in the valley, an elk bugled. The creek ran clear and cold. Their children laughed inside the house they'd built together. It wasn't the life either of them had planned. It was better, because they'd learned the hard way that survival was just endurance. Living, really living, meant choosing something worth fighting for and then doing the work to protect it. Meant letting go of ghosts without forgetting them. Meant building instead of destroying. Meant standing your ground not because you had nowhere else to go, but because you'd found something worth staying for. And in the end, that made all the difference.